So a very good morning to everyone. I am Ankit Kanodia from SmartSync Services, a SEBI registered investment advisory firm. Welcome to the 8th episode of Mission Smile guest webinars, a new Mission Smile initiative where we invite guests from the industry every month and learn from their unique investing styles. For those who are joining for the first time, Mission Smile stands for Making New Stock Market Investors Learn It Through Engaging Research. Before we begin, I would request everyone to please keep yourself on mute and switch off the video so that we can have a seamless discussion and soak in all the knowledge. You may type in your questions on the chat box. We'll take all the questions in the end of the session. So let's begin. Today, our guest is Mr. Arvind Kothari. Arvind Kothari is a CFA charter holder, a CA, and a cost works accountant. He's the founder and director at Niveshaay, over 15 years of experience in equity research. He started his journey as industry research analyst at ICICI Group. After working for 2 years in industry research and observing how motivated and complex it was for end investors, he set up his own research team. Niveshaay has a firm belief that taking entrepreneurial calls work better than questioning quarterly performance like an analyst, and has developed that culture throughout the enterprise. And the topic of today, therefore, is Scuttlebutt investing. So let me just share the presentation for all of you to have a look at it. I hope the presentation is coming up on your screen. So as you can see, today's 8th guest webinar, Mission Smile. The topic of today is Scuttlebutt investing, the Peter Lynch way of doing investments. I'll just start with a standard SEBI disclaimer, as we are SEBI registered investment advisors. It is mandatory for us to make this disclosure. I don't know whether you can anyone just share with I think the screen is visible, right? Great. So this is the disclosure. I'll first come to the disclosure of our side. Yeah. So me and my company has no holding in the stock, which is going to be discussed by Mr. Arvindji. And this is going to be an educational webinar, and we have kept it free so that more and more investors can learn from it. With this, I'll just stop sharing and I'll make Arvindji the presenter. I'll just unmute you first. Yeah, Arvindji, I've unmuted you and I've made you the presenter. So I think you can now present your screen.
Perfect. Is it visible? Is my screen visible?
Yes, Arvindji, you can go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ankitji. And it is a pleasure that you've invited us. And yeah, I mean, Scuttlebutt investing, as I was sharing with Ankitji, is something, we didn't read in the book and start, but it was something which was accidental to us because we didn't know anything else in the market, right? When we joined investing, it was something that, we got excited by the opportunity. I was doing my CA and where I was doing CA, my sir used to tell me, Jay Shaira sir, that companies make a lot of money by utilizing all the knowledge that you're reading in the CA, right? So it's better you set up a company on your own rather than just become a CA somewhere. And his motivation, in fact, excited me. And having a family business background, I always was inclined to start something on our own. Realizing at an age that my skills might not be appropriate enough, I thought, why not invest in businesses? That is what I can at least apply my skill at. And that was the only thing that was there in the mind. And Scuttlebutt was something which came very naturally because how to verify things, that what companies are saying, how to so that mind always used to work, that how these big numbers are coming and how this is all happening in terms of the profitability that they are posting, and the CA mind where some kind of forensic, if one can do cross-checking, if one can do. So that was a mind, they never thought that this would be the approach that we want to make. But yeah, Over the years, luckily, it has turned out well. Team that has joined, is very passionate, and they've in fact helped us improve and add a lot of things. And then eventually, we also tend to read. We read not that much, but yes, we read a lot of annual reports other than books. But yes, good investors. We've been kind they've been kind enough to help us along the way. I can talk of Mr. Madhusudanji Sada of LM Capital, Rajiv Ji Khanna, Mr. Naresh Kataria, even Vijay Kedia. These all people, Govind Saab Parekh. So all these people, were instrumental in year on year when we got introduced to them in improving our process, testify what we are doing. And luckily, and the thing that helped us, and I tell this on a lot of forums, is people like Gunjan, Vikram, when they've made their reports, they were the first coverage on the stocks that we were discussing, right? So that is why we got introduced to a lot of these good investors, because when they were reading, were trying to get something on a company or a industry, they didn't have anything else rather than Niveshaay research report on them. For example, Borosil Renewable, Jamna Auto, Garware, Walrus. Initially, way back in 2014, no one used to cover the stock. Then it became, the talk of the whole town. But yes, that helped us a lot. Because of our intrigueness, we put them in our research, and that in fact clicked with a lot of investors. And luckily, year on year, the process kept on improving when we met these brilliant investors. And then they introduced to a lot of good entrepreneurs where we couldn't reach earlier because our size was small. No one used to entertain, right? Whatever, we've tried a lot of things. In fact, we've gone to schools and asked for a plant visit for the children, and then in the shadow went along because the management wouldn't allow directly. So that is the kind of things we've done, and that is what we could come up with ways to maybe initially had a head start. But that is in a way weaved it into now something which is visible, that it is working well. We'll keep on improving, but there are always scopes for improvement. But at least we've touched a milestone where we believe that at least 60% of the stuff we've learned, not I'm not even sure it's 60% or some percentage, but at least the run rate of success is 60% on the stocks that we pick. So from that, I'm judging maybe our process is 60% through. But yes, the standard disclosure, of course, the presentation is for just educational purpose. The stock that we are discussing, I definitely hold in my portfolio, and my clients also hold. So I'm interested over here. So take it with a pinch of salt. And I, on many forums, I get very excited when I'm talking about some entrepreneur, because that's the rapport that I share with some of these people. So please take it with a conservative mindset. I might speak, very highly and bullish about the things that I stand for. Yes, so we at Niveshaay, we have these bouquet of services where Scuttlebutt has helped us make research our forte, and research in a way then branched out into managing wealth for a few of these family offices whom we used to visit to understand their businesses. And luckily then they gave their portfolios to manage, which was again accidental, something which we could not have imagined. But a lot of good family offices, we do manage their portfolios. And then small case happened, a tech platform which increased our reach further, and we're very thankful for that. So Scuttlebutt investing, then when we read about it, and the popularization of the term was, way back in the US in the book called Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits. And it was also, taken up by, Peter Lynch and, Buffett. Everyone in a way has used this approach to testify their thesis, to get reconfirmations, and then invest heavily. So yes, that is somewhat, and Peter Lynch, in fact, in his book, and the only book, in fact, I've read again and again is his book, right? And that is a very simple read. I will say to the investors, if they've not read, they should read this book. If you read this book and annual reports, and if you follow Scuttlebutt, then I don't think you need anything else in investing beyond that. All these short term, people, when we read in, so I've done my CFA, I don't say I demean that, but in the portfolio management thesis, or all these big jargons that we learn, sometimes limit our caggers is what I believe. And simple straightforward investing, wherein you testify your thesis, you get the ground report, and when you get the whole hang on a business, and understand the entrepreneur's vision, that sometimes is a multiplier of effect of wealth that you have. See, and I'm recommending this because, I'm not sure I'm talking to people who already made, 500,000 crores of wealth, right? See, this is always a question people ask me, why we should, what amount we should diversify, how many stocks we should have, this, that, XYZ. You see, if you've not made the first, 5-10 crores of your portfolio, you don't need to diversify. I mean, you go there, take risk, make your portfolio 50-100 crores, then all these big jargons come into picture till your capital is reaching 1 crore or 5 crore kind of. And it's different for different people, but what I'm saying is that initially you should take risks, because then only the multiplier effect happens, right? Then you can maybe apply all the jargons of all the books that you want in the world and try to then de-risk. Initially, not taking risk is the biggest risk that you take, and then you try to read what is happening in US, this, that, these things don't matter when you come to our country, because our country has made astral pipe, like, businesses multi-baggers, right? Commoditized businesses have become Apollo Pipes is a pipe business, a multi-bagger, biggest multi-bagger in fact of this decade. No one could have imagined this happening in the US, right, or in the Europe, right? So what I'm trying to say is our country is different. Our entrepreneurs are different. Their resolve is different. Their story is different. Also, our country has a lot of trust deficit. So we have a lot of commoditized businesses becoming almost brands and then becoming multi-baggers. So that's where I'm not sure whether if you're reading a lot of US based investing books and you apply that in India, whether your journey will be that fantastic at those investors. So I'm a fan of Buffett. I'm not saying that I don't love him. I see his annual reports. We've learned a lot from him. But whatever Buffett did was in his country. Capitalism was, full blown over there, and a lot of things were different. Here now we are seeing capitalism coming in full flavor. We didn't had that, for so many years. We have a different setup in terms of the social fabric that we have. You need to understand that. That's why Scuttlebutt, I think, has helped us, because we understand कि गुजरात में क्या चलता है, महाराष्ट्र में क्या चलता है, चेन्नई किस तरह का market है. I mean, if you go to south, they are completely, so it's a different continent altogether, right? Their consumption patterns are completely different. Sari sold in big showrooms which are multi layered, and they do 500-700 crores of turnover from a single store in the south, right? Doesn't happen over here. यहाँ पे गुजरात में छोटी सी दुकानें हम लेके बैठे रहते हैं, right? It's a different culture altogether. Consumption that is there is of a different level when you talk about a lot of these things, and hence you need to understand the social fabric. You need to understand what works where, and that is where, for example, Govind Parekh has made tons of his money just concentrating on businesses of South, right? He's not gone anywhere. The Ramcos of the world, the Murugappas of the world. He, in a way, has had, companies which were, maybe when he was investing 5 crores of market cap and currently are maybe 50,000 crores of market cap. And he's stayed with them for so many years because of the comfort that he got being there, being with those set of entrepreneurs, understanding that what their social fabric is, understanding what their mindset is, what their integrity is, and then be rest assured that they have a long runway of growth. Because in India there was the biggest chance of improvement, right? So he had his friends in the US. Many people used to approach him, why don't you invest in US? But he used to be very adamant that here is the chance for the biggest improvement in corporate balance sheets, in doing business, and hence that is where the biggest reward has happened. And still our country will have a lot of improvements, and that is where we believe if someone puts his head ground, you look around, right? Why, what is Scuttlebutt investing? A lot of people in Surat ask me. I tell them, you have diamond, you have jewelry sector, you have textile sector, इनमें से multi-bagger निकल जाएगा यार. Why do you want to go to try something else? First find what is within you, right? In any city, in fact Surat also, for example, real estate development is very high. So you will know someone who's a builder, right? You go check what he's using, right? What products he's using, what wires he's using, what kind of material he's using when he's building his real estate project. Then maybe someone who's into building homes, in the sense that what kind of interior products they are using. So you can get companies like Polycab, or you can get a lot of these companies. For example, there's a private company, but Simpolo Tiles is something which a lot of builders are using. I'm not saying that you can find a Simpolo tile in the private market and then invest. What I'm trying to say, it could be a listed company, like Kajaria was discovered maybe 10 years ago. So this is the kind of thing which you can do. And people always tell me it's very difficult, आप कैसे scuttlebutt कर सकते हैं, team नहीं होगी तो ये. I agree, but my only point is we can start the process and then take it forward. Yeah, so scuttlebutt investing, as we try to do in terms of visiting a lot of plants, attending a lot of the AGMs, even visiting private companies who are not listed. We make it a mandate. In fact, that the thing that has helped more to us is visiting more private limited companies than public limited companies. And you'd say, how to get, who are the private limited companies? In various industry journals we used to subscribe. So for example, Chemical Weekly, हम 2017-18 में पढ़ रहे हैं, उसमें हम बहुत जन अपनी ऐड देते हैं, राइट, कि हमारा ये प्रोडक्ट है, ऐसा है, वो है. हम वो ऐड में उसका फोन नंबर, एड्रेस लेके उसके पास पहुंचा. ठीक है. So that's a point that we always thought, that if someone is making a product, and a private limited entrepreneur would be much more comfortable sharing a lot of data that he's seeing in the industry, sharing a lot of things, that the problems he might be facing, what's the real situation of China, right? कॉन कॉल पे तो हर कंपनी को चाइना +1 बोलने में अच्छा लगता है, राइट? बट व्हाट इज द रियल ऑन ग्राउंड सिचुएशन is something that you get a pulse when you meet these entrepreneurs who don't have a motivation, or any kind of thing in their mind to tell you because of some benefit that they are getting, right? So that is where when you apply your mind over the years, we've got a lot of ways how we can approach this, even visiting the whole supply chain, distributors, trying to attend even global, you can say, industry events. For example, if any aluminum sector we are tracking, if something is happening in Dubai where all the big giants of the world are attending, we try to attend that. And we generally try to pick up companies which are operating in a sector which has less number of players, finite number of players, right? 10, 12, 20 at max. Because if these are lesser number of players, generally what we observed is, whenever there's an industry event, all have their stalls, right? So I can go and see कौन कितना खर्चा stall पे कर रहा है, किसका कितना अच्छा organization है stall का. These small things communicate a lot, right? If a stall is mismanaged, that means it is communicating what down the line, maybe the industry, the a discipline has happened, right? If the activity on the stall is good and it's well organized, it communicates a lot in terms of what the whole organizational flow is. So having lesser number of players gives me more opportunity to do scuttlebutt and have a maybe a more grip on the on ground happenings. Because generally what we've seen is, even if the profit pool is less initially in these industries, if they are for a long period of time not attracting competition, eventually the profit pool expands, right? In fact, we've had companies which were just 5 plants in the whole world, yeah, right, or 7 plants in the, and these are not big giants I'm talking. These are like small companies making maybe calcium hypochlorite, which is used in swimming pools, for example, right? For swimming pool sanitization, there's a very high quality product which is used in the US, which is calcium hypochlorite, which in a way the amount of chlorine that needs to be there, and that mix that needs to be there, only 5 to 7 plants in the world have cracked it, right? In fact, even the Birla Group could not crack it, and a company from Hyderabad could crack it, and it was winning business, and whatever money it was making, it then went into making sodium metal. Again, no one was making sodium metal in India, right? So these kind of things which entrepreneurs, when they do, eventually, and for 4 years the entrepreneur also lost money, right? 4 साल उसको भी अपनी कैल्शियम हाइपोक्लोराइड का पूरा वो मिक्स बनाने में लगे, and he was bleeding money there. But eventually when it clicked, it did wonders for him and brought a lot of cash flows to do new things. So we if you want to do scuttlebutt and then you pick up a big company, has a lot of variables, then it is very difficult to do, I admit. And that's why I don't recommend doing that industries which have large number of players, or companies which have plants across the world. How do I mean, and we've been on the receiving side of it when we picked up these companies, and we thought that we've got a hang of it, but then something happens in the Europe and then you're on the drawing table, something happens in the US, then you're on the drawing table. So yes, that is, again, I'm not saying that these companies don't make sense, but sometimes what happens is the more the variables, the difficult it is for you to have grip on the business. And generally, then I saw that in the market also we observed the P multiple. There's a big debate what companies should attract a lot of P multiple, right? Simple businesses, businesses with less friction, businesses which we can understand with few variables generally have a high P multiple, and more complex the business, more geographies that they're operating on, more friction to grow the business, lesser the P multiple generally, because for them something or the other would pull them down. And then there are companies which keep on surprising us on the upside, because when they get a hang of it, for example, Gunjan wrote a report on Rajaratan wires, right? Again, Rajaratan wire had a long runway ahead of itself, was gaining markets, a simple product, kya bana raha hai? Simply, a wire for the tires, and that in a way was the market share that it had, and it kept on gaining market share and had a long runway in terms of the profit pool that it could eventually attract. Initially, if someone looked at it, it was not making that profit pool, but eventually it started attracting that when it reached, that kind of market dominance. Jamna Auto, again, a company which someone would say, yaar, क्या है लीफ स्प्रिंग बनाता है इतना छोटा सा प्रोडक्ट है व्हाट इट कैन डू बट अ वेरी सिंपल प्रोडक्ट but was a need of the commercial vehicles, had 30% market share, went up to 78% market share, right? Almost a monopoly. And that's the kind of companies that we've seen when they had no friction, right? When they had this clean slate, they've in a way achieved it faster than companies which have a lot of ifs and buts, a lot of competition, a lot of things that can maybe pull them back. So yeah, uh, why we again then look at, so the business, that is important, then we look at the entrepreneur, which is even more important, because these entrepreneurs, if they have the ability to execute, in India the ability to execute is the highest ability that you need. You can have all your plans, things like that, but if you're not a good executor, doesn't work, right? So we've seen in commoditized businesses, people execute well, become a very cost competitive player, or either a very branded player, and then give that multiplier. In fact, B2B businesses in India have far outperformed, and if you take 10 years, 20 years performances, all these consumer businesses, which typically in the US have done very well. On the flip side, in India, also consumer business also done well in India, but also these B2B businesses or businesses which don't have those prominent brands have done well over the years. So the entrepreneur who's running the show becomes very, very important, because in India now we are having professional management, right? Till date, it is still a struggle for a lot of these entrepreneurs to give the management in professional hands, and they are maybe wanting to own their own story and even execute it. So still, we believe there are a lot of years to go. When we have board run companies and things like that, we still have a lot of companies who are entrepreneur driven, and those entrepreneurs also have energy left with them. They almost hold 70-75% of the company. It's not like the US where they have just 10-12%, 5% stake. So yes, it is very, very important. The person who is holding that kind of stake, he would be very much inclined to grow his wealth, right? And that thing has changed in the mind of people, where they want to increase their wealth. And that is where, if an entrepreneur has his sight on growing the business and understands what wealth creation he can have by doing that, is the most important thing that we look at, right? So if you look at Mr. Shivar Kheroka from Borosil, or Mr. NS Gumman from Shivalik Bimetal, these are people who are driven. They are in a way driven by excellence. They themselves want to enforce that when they are dealing with their own enterprises, and year on year they brought changes which testify that, right? We've seen a lot of companies promising a lot, saying this would happen in this year, that, yeah, whoa, but there are very few people who stick to it, deliver, and then take a new goal. And these are the people who've done that. In case of Shivalik Biometals, we've seen how they had a product which was into, making CRT tubes, which was then, the whole TV industry changed and the business became irrelevant, right? And they diversified into shunt resistors. And now shunt resistors is the best technology for measuring current when we are talking about maybe, your meters, energy meters, which will be changed from mechanical to electronic meters, or maybe even electric vehicles, which will have, a lot of shunt resistor as a part of the battery management system. So that is where the product development that they did way back then is helping them. In fact, they have become the leaders in the world for shunt resistor. They export their product to even Korea, Japan, erstwhile quality markets. And in fact, US, they have clients like Vishaydale, which in a way supply to Tesla. So that's the kind of story that is now unfolding ahead of them, because of the hard work that they did, and they didn't got bogged down because of what was happening in one segment of the business. So if the entrepreneur is good, even if the business, midway has problems, he's able to steer it and maybe look at the large growth and, maybe maneuver through, discover new products, and maybe, start his journey again. Steve, when he joined his business, it was struggling in terms of, energy cost, and they had to shift from, Bombay to come to Bharuch, and, maybe start a furnace over there, and they had to, maybe restructure the whole business. And that is where the excellence came in that company. Borosil, many people knew for so many years. In fact, the company started way back in 1962. But the real, breakout decade, I'd say last decade, which was there for Borosil, was after Stewart joined, and the focus that he brought in terms of growing the whole business. I'm not saying that the hard work wasn't done, but it is sometimes, the hard work was being done and it got recognized maybe afterwards. But a lot of systems and processes and a lot of focus which River brought definitely helped the enterprise to grow. And we've seen how Borosil Renewal and Borosil were demerged, and now Borosil Renewal had a fantastic tailwind because of, the Chinese, yeah, you can say, dumping not happening in that manner that it was happening before COVID. And these guys get a chance to expand, and they've expanded continuously. And now a 180-ton player is almost, almost reach 450 tons a day, is going to become almost 1,000 tons a day in maybe 2-3 quarters, and maybe eventually become even, 2,000 tons in a couple of years. So in 4 to 5 years, they will go 10x of their capacity, right? So for a decade, that nothing happened in that business, and in just 5-6 years, they'll completely become 10x. So these kind of things happen when you get tailwinds, right? So they were working hard. They were the only two plants who survived the onslaught of the Chinese around the world, and when they got their chance, they did something exceptionally well. And now in Borosil Limited also, the consumer brand business that, and I'll be talking in detail because that is what I'm presenting on today, a lot about how they've been able to manage that well and grow that, and what the expansion plans are. So these entrepreneurs we respect, and in fact visit and try to meet them as often, or listen to them on any forums where they're presenting, or wherever we can catch them during AGMs or wherever. That is what we try to get a feedback from them whenever there's an opportunity. Our approach is in fact mid and small cap focus, and we always, try to find companies which are maybe, in mid market segments and trying to grow fast. That is what we've over the years done. Compared to large caps, we believe definitely the volatility is higher, but the superior returns also is possible if these are undiscovered stock, or because of their volatility, they're available cheaply and over the years. And interestingly, the thought process that I shared, the friction, sometimes we think the friction is least in these small caps because they're focused on few businesses, or maybe, just India as a geography and maybe growing very fast. So if you think about it, they have lesser variables that can affect them globally. Still they are, priced cheaply till their profit pool grows to an extent, right? So generally what we've seen is still the market cap doesn't reach a particular level because institution and other people are not able to invest in them. We try to buy that period, right, where these companies are available at a lesser market cap, have a niche business, have a high market share, still are, undiscovered, or the profit pool is less. and we take a 5-7 years kind of a call where if the profit pool expands, generally the market cap would start inching slowly first, but then we lapped up by institutions, and hence that increases the market cap substantially if they're able to achieve. So in the past, there have been a lot of examples that when you pick up industries or stock, you should go for industries which are maybe in the sunrise sector, right? The industries which are emerging, but there are also a lot of risks of getting into sunrise sectors, because whatever new innovations we've seen, maybe automobile was a innovation, but if you go to the annual report of annual general meeting of Buffett a couple of years ago, he raised this very important point that if you identified automobiles way back in 1930s, which was a highly growing market, what percentage of companies would have eventually survived? And the only two companies that survived, Ford was one, but then eventually, if you see that list of 2000 companies, only two or three for that matter survived by 2009. So that is the kind of wealth erosion that happened in a sunrise sector also, right? So it's not necessary that you pick up the sunrise sector and then you're done and you can maybe benefit for years to come because of that. The chances of companies surviving is pretty small. Then what do you do? So we try to find out a non-disruptive company, maybe in a disruptive sector, right? So for example, if solar is growing very fast, then all other materials are having disruptions, right? The cost of all materials is crashing, a lot of technology changes are happening, but no matter how much technology is changing, you still need a glass to protect the cell, right? So the glass was the least disruptive product in the whole solar value chain, and hence we picked up Borosil renewal way back in 2020, and we had a note on then. And then luckily for us, anti-dumping duty came and a lot of things happened, but for many years solar glass was one thing that had not changed. And we studied the Chinese market, we studied all European players who were there, but glass didn't have much disruption. Its thickness change, which was okay, the thickness change could have been managed by making few innovations or few changes in the plant, but that was not something which was something which could have disrupted the whole business, right? So that is where I would maybe recommend you also find businesses which are not changing the whole gamut, or whose technology is not completely changing, right? So that is where over the years we've been in a way lucky enough to find companies which are uh, cannot control, sorry. Yeah, so
Yeah,
my
Arvind.
slide is my slide visible?
Yeah, it is visible. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Not able to change my slide, I don't know why.
Maybe some internet issue. You can maybe try not sharing it and again start resharing.
Okay, I'll do that. Who's Suresh Chopra? Is he from your team?
No. What happened?
He had a request for annotating or something, which was
No,
there
no,
on my screen.
no. I don't think we should provide that. That's okay.
Acha, I guess that has been approved, and he has the access of annotating, I guess, and that's why I'm not able to use my screen. Sorry.
Let me let me just do one thing. I'll take away
Yeah.
your presentation, right, and then again give you. So then I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Anyway, so meanwhile, what I was, trying to address the point was that Borosil Renewable had a product that had survived for years and years whenever the solar industry was changing. And when they got a breakthrough that they could expand in India, they started to do that. And that eventually we saw that how they had the growth. Similar things we observed with Shivalik Bimetal, where they had a product, because EVs in a way they were growing very fast, but the product that Shivalik Bimetal had was a product which was non-disruptive, in the sense that whatever technology you are using with EV, whatever battery technology was changing, you still needed shunt resistor to maybe manage the flow of the electricity and measure the you can say power, right? So to measure the current, if the technology is shifting towards shunt resistors, and that's a better technology, then whatever is happening with the battery, because in battery I don't think India had any advantage, or maybe the Chinese were far ahead, or maybe in US Tesla was far ahead in making the battery technology, right? But in India, we were lucky enough that there's a company called Shivalik Bimetal who was making a small part, which is, something which in a way changed a lot in terms of, their fortunes, but also was an important part of the battery management system. And that in a way grew, is growing very fast now, as and when most of the companies around the world are pivoting towards maybe EVs, and electric vehicles are now maybe becoming mainstream in a lot of industries, in a lot of countries. And we in a way are at the cusp of maybe EV vehicles in our country also moving very fast and swiftly. So yes, that is something which we believe is a trend that has started, and maybe will remain for a lot of years. Shall I share the screen again?
Yeah, now you can try. I think you will be able to do it.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much. Sorry for the interruption. So and hence we try to find out a high growing sector, but we don't go to the disruptive sector, right? For example, when this whole idea that we want to do something in EV came to us, we analyzed a lot of companies. Maybe a Cabra Extrusion came to our mind, which was making these batteries themselves. But we were not comfortable what the battery. I'm not saying Cabra couldn't do well or didn't do well. It has done well, right? It has won contracts. But the Batrix division that they had was more of an assembly division, and they were relying on the Chinese technology, right? And I was not sure whether they'll be able to update it again and again and be a very large player. It can have a lot of runway, right? But I had this company called Shivalik Bimetal, which was making the technology themselves, which was the shunt resistors themselves. And shunt resistor was a product which had to have application in a BMS and was not getting disrupted, wasn't something where a lot of technology change is happening, or wasn't something where China was had. In fact, these people had the most stable shunt resistor in the world, and that capability of theirs attracted us towards this company, because it was less disruptive, had a niche market share, competitive advantage, and again a few players, right? Again, in the whole world, the automotive shunt resistor, see, the non-automotive shunt resistor many people make, but the automotive shunt resistors only few people in Korea or maybe in India, and maybe a couple of more guys make in the whole world. And that's where we thought that this company has a huge runway in terms of the applicability of the product. And because people were less in manufacturing, and we thought that we should bet on this company. And if you look at the overall performance of the auto index, right? So because the whole thing was changing towards EV, it underperformed a lot, the auto index initially, because people are not sure whether Maruti would be able to transition in the EV or not. So when there is confusion in the market, even if someone has the capability, market will doubt it for a lot of years. So the whole automobile index has done nothing, but you can say Shivalik Bimetal has completely changed its trajectory from where it has delivered exceptional results because of the applicability of the shunt resistors. And now shunt resistors growing, even the bimetal strips for them have grown. But that is where our thought process always comes to have a second order thinking and do the supply side analysis, right? What happens is, most of the times you read these annual reports and research reports, every talk one is talking about demand, right? So in India, getting demand is not a challenge, right? You have so many underpenetrated categories. Demand can be high in many sectors, many companies, but it is also important what is the supply side dynamics of it, right? So if the demand is good, but the supply is also coming at a very fast pace, there will be always issue in terms of competition taking away the whole, maybe the profitability that you were doing. And hence, even if the demand is growing slowly, But if the market is in a way controlled by few players, or in fact people are leaving the industry, it leads to more profitability and giving chance for the company to launch a lot of things in their own industry. For example, even Philip Morris, Peter Lynch in his book speaks about that, cigarettes was a dying industry. It was, in fact, in the US it was declining, but Philip Morris still became a multi-bagger because a lot of companies in the US shut down the cigarette business, and Philip Morris, of the cash flow that it made because of the high profit margins, it went on to other geographies, and in the world it became, almost a leader. So that is the way, cash flow sometimes help companies to transition. So it's not generally necessary that you only have high growth in your end demand industry. It should be a meaningful demand, but the supply should in a way not be growing faster than the demand. That's a recipe for disaster for sure. Any industry which has demand growing higher than the supply is where you want to place yourself, right? Again, capital allocation, what the company is doing for, the expansion or the cash flow that it is earning. If it is doesn't have a efficient capital allocation, then eventually whatever good business it is doing, it will go down the drain and will not make much returns for investors. And that has been one very big factor in Indian companies, where we've seen companies earning a lot of money. But way back in 2007-8, if you read annual reports of companies, most of them announce a power plant, right? A thermal power plant. And it was the time when Reliance Power came with an IPO, and every consultant, every banker was wanting to fund, these things. And that was where, a lot of people were very, very excited about that the power sector is the future. But what happened post that? We've all seen, because you didn't have expertise and because you also had a lot of problems in sourcing of coal. Everyone was just putting up a power plant, right? But how will coal be sourced where Coal India was growing its supply by 2%, and people were making projects 20-25% every year? They were launching new projects. So there was deficiency of coal, and eventually imported coal, which was 3-4 times expensive, had to be sourced, and projects went for a toss. And that is where most NPAs happened. So in India, definitely promoters, because it's a promoter driven companies, they tend to go for projects which, generally a lot of people, or consultant would have told them, or maybe, they've heard about their peers doing it, and hence in following them, they fall in that pit. So we have to make sure that the company that we're picking, the promoters are not, very much carried away by consultants or carried away by a lot of things, and they do things which in a way can reduce your overall, you can say, profitability going forward. So it's not just the business, but what the capital is being deployed. Again, when the business earns profit, is very, very important. So that is where we place a lot of emphasis. And over the years, that has in a way helped us to maybe hold on to the stocks for a higher period till they are performing, because the capital allocation is good. The moment the capital allocation goes for the toss, we try to exit the stock for sure. So the company that I want to discuss today, through which you can understand whatever I'm discussing, is Borosil Limited. Borosil Renewable was a great story that we picked up, and now we believe it is already on the cusp of a lot of good things that it could do. But the market cap has also, reflected, and it has now been a talk of the town. But a company which is not that discussed, same group, the consumer side of the business, which is Borosil Limited. Now this company is very interesting in terms of the market positioning that it has. Almost 60-65% market share in borosilicate glass, or the microwavable glass, and also opalware, almost, the second largest player, in fact almost equal to the largest player. And has an organized market over there also. In the scientific ware, maybe in scientific glassware, close to 70% market share. Most of the sub segments that this company is into, it's almost a leader. And still, it is, and it is growing very fast. In the past, 5-6 years, COVID had a disruption in the midway, but then the strategies that the marketing team is deploying, and the hard work that they're doing in the scientific side. They acquired, a business which was into vials and ampoules, which benefited them hugely during COVID. And also now they're into the instruments business, which again can do very well, which they've again started in these instruments. Lab instruments were only imported before them, and now they're making a homegrown brand around them. So they're doing things which are for, maybe making them in the leadership spot in whatever they are doing. And that shows the mindset of the people, that they only do businesses where they believe they have a huge market to serve, and they can be almost either use the distribution network to penetrate, or are already having a high market share or can claim a high market share. So that is where, again, as I told you, we like companies which have lesser number of players who can disrupt the business, and these are businesses which are maybe growing at a faster rate. What has happened is the earnings of the company or the margins in the past 5 7 years, or if you compare with other consumer companies, you see that the margins are less. And then you'll doubt, they talk a lot of things, but where are the margins? But the point is, these people are investing in creating a brand for many years now. So they've built a company which can maybe have 2 3 thousand crores of consumer sales, maybe, or a couple of thousand or 1,000 crores of scientific fair instruments and all these sales. But it takes time because the whole process also got delayed a bit by COVID. But the marketing is reaping them benefit, right? Their acquisition are reaping them benefit. And hence we believe that they've invested in human capital, they've invested in branding, and they are now are recognized across platforms and touch points, and they are on the cusp where maybe the cooker industry was way back in 2005 6, when Hawkins, Prestige, all these companies were brilliant companies, had large market to address, and were growing fast. But because they were investing a lot in branding, right? If you go back in those times, the television, I guess the ad was very famous, that जो बीवी से करे प्यार वो prestige से कैसे करे इनकार, right? So if someone looked at the numbers, right, they were not making numbers, because all the money that they were earning was going into marketing, right? And hence someone would say, यार इनका ROE नहीं है, ये नहीं है, वो नहीं है. But post 2009-10, when their overall industry grew very fast, and marketing as a spend went, as a percentage went low, everyone saw huge you can say ROEs and great results and numbers. So that is when you're creating a brand, the process is tough. You maybe are projecting yourself 5 years from hence, and hence you're spending right now the benefits which will be reaped in the coming years. It's not like a manufacturing business where you start the capex and you can start maybe delivering right at that moment, right? And double or triple their sale, as the for example, in Borosil renewable case, that has happened, right? They started the plant and new plant, and now they have orders and they can grow very fast. But in consumer businesses, it's not about the capacity that you build, also the brand needs to be with their commensurate growing along with it, right? So that is where Borosil Limited, we believe, is a brand which is getting made, is a brand which can grow very fast, and over the years surprise us all if they're able to deliver on the parameters that we think that they're doing well. So Borosil Limited, and again, when I'm talking about Borosil, I need to understand the consumption theme, right? And in India, what has happened post COVID is that the investment cycle, the capex revival cycle, has completely turned, and it is doing very well right now. The government spending has improved a lot because the government is in a way now getting a lot of revenue from GST, and its finances have improved, and net exports have improved because during COVID, pharma exports improved, then specialty chemicals improved. Now we are seeing engineering exports improve. Our IT was always doing good. So those things. So if you combine, if IG and net exports, if they do well, eventually what happens is it leads to a lot of wage growth, right? Because people who are working get more demand, the overall team expands, and because of that, wages expand, and when wages expand, they can consume more, right? And hence we believe the C part, the consumption, and the consumption then goes to niche segments which India couldn't afford earlier, right? So now we've approached the $2,000 per capita income mark. When any country has crossed that, the consumption in the discretionary side has grown dramatically high, right? So just imagine that if you had you are earning 20,000 a month or 10,000 a month, and 9,000 to 9,500, was going into your basic consumption, right? So you are only getting 500 rupees surplus. Now you start earning 15,000. Then your basic consumption doesn't grow from 9,500 to 14,000, right? It goes to only 11, 12,000. And if it goes to 12,000, you have 3,000 rupees spare. Now, when you have 3,000 rupees spare, your income has gone up by just 50%, but the money that you're left for discretionary consumption, which was 500 rupees per month, now goes to almost 2,000 rupees, but that's 4x jump, right? So that's a multiplier effect of discretionary spend, which we believe is a theme for this decade, which we are expecting. And if that consumption theme would play out, where we have a young population, a big working force, in fact, people are struggling with population collapses, people are struggling with aging population. We still have a very growing population. In fact, there's a very big indicator of aging population. When adult diapers are sold more than baby diapers in a country, that is when the country starts aging. And that's already happened in Japan and other countries, but it has happened in China also now, right? So that's something which gives us a lot of advantage, because we are still 20, 25 years away from reaching that peak point, and that gives us this runway of demography, which we believe consumption. And consumption stocks have proven, right? They've in the past also, when someone has got the recipe right and has grown fast. Jockey is a prime example, right? CAGR of 42% from 2009, and it just kept on expanding its franchise. And we've seen how the company has grown over the years, and the wealth that has gotten created. TTK Prestige again, as I was telling, that 2009-10, they were just emerging out of by becoming a brand, and their advertisement expense were becoming more rationalized as a percentage of their sales, and that completely shot up the overall profitability. And we've seen a CAGR of 33% almost by from 2009. So these are huge brands that got created, and they've created that kind of market cap. But then the point is that the consumption theme, where do you want to play? Is it on the penetrated level or the under penetrated level, right? So we have a fans, which is the most penetrated market, but we also have microwave ovens, or maybe air coolers, or other gadgets which are under penetrated. And Borosil, the market that it serves in terms of opalware, for example, or microwavable glass, for example, is where it has highest market share. And that trend combines with microwave ovens growing in a country, and which is the least penetrated sector right now in India, which we believe is will have a lot of penetration, right? So the journey of Borosil, if you think about it, way back in 1962 it started, right? And for 12 years they were just into the industrial glass, the scientific ware business. But because they had borosilicate glass, which in scientific ware, borosilicate glass actually has a lot of strength, it doesn't succumb under strong, you can say, temperatures, and hence they went into consumer brand also. And the journey that started when consumer brand was introduced was really fantastic. And in 1988, the Kerukas bought the JV. In fact, they started as a JV with a US company, and they were bought in 1988 by the Kerukas. And growth started to coincide largely after Shriver also joined the business, because a lot of things were done in the past, and the struggles that were there post the power crisis in Maharashtra, they came to Gujarat, and things started to happen well for them. And Shriver, which eventually had a mindset, and you meet any person in the organization. Over the years, we met the plant managers, the marketing head, whoever you meet, the energy of Shriver actually flows through them. And everyone, post Shriver's joining, is much more helpful, hopeful about the future. And you talk to them, and they will say that it is because of the vision that he has, because the freedom that Shriver gives. And they've had experiences where they suggested something, or they suggested a product, and Shiver was very, very sporting enough to admit that into the enterprise and start production for those product categories, or pivot the business towards what the team wanted, right? So that's the kind of leadership that Shiver, the impact that he's had, which we've experienced ourselves from the downline. He studied in Pennsylvania, worked at Goldman Sachs, and joined the family business back in 2006. when the business was struggling, right? And the challenges that he faced, in fact, were real, because in Maharashtra the prices suddenly, of your electricity doubled, and glass being a very furnace, and they had a tubing furnace then, right? And the tubing furnace also had a lot of energy, that was electricity that they wanted, labor problems, all those things. So by 2009, Kheruka Shiver visited almost 100 factories and identified suppliers from over the world also, that could, help the company at least have the supply, even if the Maharashtra plant was not working, and they shifted the plant from Mumbai to Bharuch. But still, the production didn't stop, because they, during these visits and all, they were able to find out credible vendors which could, so in a way they could also go asset light, right? Because they had people who could make for them, and Borosil do the QC, and on the face of it, they always did very well, because of having lesser investment in plants, but also more investment in branding, right? So if you look at that sometimes crisis bog you down, but sometimes crisis bring the best of you. That is where the crisis brought best of Borosil, because if they would have been stuck with the manufacturing and its problems, they might have not thought about the consumer business in such a way, and maybe not unleashed a new journey for Borosil, which was, even if your asset light, your brand is so good that people want to consume a brand, and you keep on delivering great products, no matter you manufacture yourself or get it manufactured somewhere, right? So if you look at Borosil and Borosil Renewal and Lara, which was completely a new product. In fact, they bought a company, Opal, where they were not present, but in 2016 they bought a company which was, in a way, not very efficiently run, but Borosil acquired it, and the sales has now, from just 50 crores, balloon to around 60, 170 crores, and maybe with the new expansion, it has a potential to even go to 300 or crores. And if you even look at the journey of the whole business from 2009 onwards, when it was not making profits, in fact the EBITDA how they've improved, and the EBITDA margins how they've improved dramatically post that period, is what I believe has given them also the profit pool now to do a lot of branding exercises, and that effect we'll see in the coming future also. So the product segments: consumer wear, they have microwave glass products, tumblers, cookware. They also are into appliances now, stainless steel flask and kitchen appliances. Scientific ware, they have these laboratory glassware, glass vials business, the ampoules business as they're acquired. Also, they have the instruments business that is now emerging. The revenue mix: 68% consumer wear, 32% scientific wear, and export revenue currently is around 6%. They have three plants: one in Jaipur, one in Gujarat, Bharuch, and one in Tarapur. Jaipur is their opalware plant that they bought from Lara, right? So retail reach, and this is what is very, very important, that how they're able to grow their reach. These are not the outlets that Borosil is launching, but these are outlets where they're present. And the outlet by 2017 they were just in 10,000. By 2020 they were in 15,000, and now they are in almost 25,000 outlets. That's the pace of growth incrementally every year that you're seeing, right? So every year they're adding maybe 1,500 to 2,000 outlets. It's a very credible achievement in terms of a difficult to penetrate, you can say, industry which this operates. Current capacity around in the opalware, they have 42 and per annum. Scientific wear, sorry, tons per day. Scientific wear glass pack, they have vials production 300 millions, ampoules 500 million, right? So capex plans, they're completely changing their overdrive because of the capex announcement. If you see those, they have 625 crores of capex lined up in the consumer wear, because they had so much orders in the opal glassware industry. And see, the leader is Diva in was a leader and is a leader right now also, and they in fact now already have opened their capacity. But Borosil, because it had huge order book and it furnace took a bit time post COVID to come to production, they were Borosil was getting it manufactured somewhere else, was a type of situation they were in, in their opalware division. So even though maybe Laopla has grown faster, but now with the production of you can say Lara's new plant also coming up, their growth again would pick up because they were facing, the orders were such that their capacities were full. They were getting it, in fact, outsourced, and now they will also get it in house. And during this, they have compromised on their margins, because when you get it manufactured from someone else, and there are not much manufacturers for this, so you're paying more. In fact, you're making least margins in opalware category. Opalware, you have to have your own manufacturing. You're making the least margins if you're getting it manufactured from someone else. But the management took a call that it is okay if I'm losing money also to supplying to my customers, because I don't want to say no to the additional demand, because I'm creating customers, right? Eventually, whenever my plant comes, I'll shift back to my production. But till then, they were comfortable lose, and that's the kind of, you can say, focus you need when you're winning in the market. You want to keep your consumers even at any cost. And they were very sure that as and when their furnace comes, those margins would get improved. So if someone has a question around their margins and things like that, there are 3-4 reasons which they are trying to make the brand a big brand, and maybe the branding exercise, and also these kind of things which maybe eat up the margins, is something which in a way is holding them back, right? Scientific products, again, they are trying to increase there also the tubing furnace, and the glass pack also, the vials and ampoules capacity, they are increasing. So yes, that is where, we believe it's a earnings upcycle that we see in the coming years. Market positioning, they have 24% plus market share in the opalware category. They're leader in the borosilicate glass, almost 60% market share. And also in the scientific glassware, they're around 70-75% market share. uh, so yeah, these are the three segments that the company has in the consumer division. Glassware, which basically is your lunch boxes, your microwavable ranges, your storage boxes. All these things are under that category, and roughly they have a 60% market share, primarily in the microwavable glass category. Other categories, market share is not easy to calculate. Non glassware, where they have now have kitchen appliances and steel serving appliances, the Hydra range, where they are growing very fast. But this is a low margin product because they get it manufactured. They don't have their own facility. All these appliances like a waffle maker and all these things they've launched. This category helps Borosil to use its distribution, and because it is getting it made from somewhere else, the capital doesn't get blocked in the business, right? So even though the margins are less in this segment, the ROEs are superior because the capital employed is pretty less, right? And that, in a way, if it scales up again, it is utilizing the old Borosil brand to reach that, and that can have a multiplier effect again. The kitchen presence that Borosil as a brand can have in the modern kitchen, and which we're seeing also these days with their innovative products. Like for example, waffle maker, we ourselves to check, it becomes unavailable a lot of times because of the demand, right? It is sometimes very difficult to even arrange the products when you need a particular product, sometimes because of stock out requests that they have. So a lot of due diligence that we've done, Borosil has very consciously made a strategy, it seems, to appeal to the younger urban audience and also a mass market. The you can say maybe the premium of the mass market category which they are targeting, where these products appeal to the young and the most demographic, you can say, dividend of our country is there, and that is set to grow faster, and hence their product placement seems to be appropriate in that segment. Even the health awareness which is being brought, people are using lunch boxes, which Borosil lunch boxes are very famous, right? And you can take it, and in your office you can microwave it easily. That kind of, you can say, comfort also is there with them. So that's the mindset of how they place the product, which we love a lot. Opalware, again, Lara, which is again their brand which they acquired, has been running at 100% capacity. And just imagine how many people in our country currently own a dinner set. It's a very less quantum, right? I'm not sure even 3-4% people have a dinner set at their home, right? So that market, again, if you think about it, in the coming 10 years, will 15% of the people in India be able to afford a dinner set? If the wages grow up, I'm very sure it should happen, right? We as a country perhaps are the only country which are using steel plates and utensils. A lot of other places, if you look at these markets, opalware takes the bulk of it, and we believe in India also this trend would catch up. It is already there in the A towns, but it will catch up in the B towns also, as and when people, if you go to restaurants, things like that, we're habituated to that, right? So the same culture, I guess, would be some years down the line, and hence the underpenetrated category has a high growth rate, we believe, which we can. And the glassware segment, currently, in a way, backward integration, is not there. They're doing maybe outsourcing because the tubing is bought from somewhere, but that in a way can be managed if they have a good brand presence, elsewhere. Again, the non-glassware is an assembly, complete assembly. They don't make anything. And the opalware segment, in-house production they have, and efforts of branding of this company. If you go to even to their Borosil page, you have regular updates, you have regular products which are displayed. They have engagements with their people, and also in terms of running a lot of these ads, they're very intelligent about it, is what we feel. The glassware segment, again, is somewhat, maybe COVID had some disruption, but the way forward, if you look at, the company has a 60% market share which they can capitalize. The kitchen storage market, in fact, has around 700 crores of market size, which is growing at 15-20%, and we are moving away from plastics to glass for sure, because of the benefits on the health. Also, as I was discussing, that even our tiffin boxes and a lot of these things are more suited for glass kind of applications, which can be easily microwavable, right? So yeah, typically in that industry, it has a high market share and it's growing at 15-20%. Also, it has institutional clients, and the expansion that is coming in the press facility in Jaipur, again, can maybe speed in the growth. But discussions with a lot of these, even B2B clients which they have, for example, certain appliances maker like a Panasonic, or a lot of these people like a Whirlpool or an LG, we when we talk to the management of a few of these companies, and also the production heads sometimes get inquiries of making glassware products in their appliances, which were the first time in the industry. When any brand thinks about, they approach Borosil. That is the kind of, you can say, brand which Borosil have built over the years, that people think about Borosil for any unique application which they have in making maybe appliance which has a glass, maybe a small glass part which they want to build, and they're very sure that the complex complexity that is there in the part, only Borosil will be able to crack it, right? So that's the kind of, you can say, mind share they've grabbed among the brands that they're operating, that whenever they think of making something new, and if there is a glass component that they want to build, they will approach Borosil. And that kind of a thing has a lot of value, because these are high margin products that they can make, right? And because they're the only manufacturers that they're developing these products along with these brands. So that's another side of the B2B side of the institutional client, which Borosil is able to tap. Again, the opalware segment, as I was talking about, the tableware market in India should grow faster than the world, because the world, in fact, is penetrated largely, and hence is growing at a maybe lesser pace. But if you compare opalware with a melamine, porcelain, ceramic, bone china, whatever, most of the tick boxes in terms of the product is with, you can say, opalware, and it is not that expensive, right? The problem is with the other, you can say, porcelains, or other bone china or things. It is very, very expensive, even if they have, you can say, all the characteristics which opalware has. So the trend towards opalware, you think about, as the whole world is moving towards EV, right? As the world always moves towards efficient products, right? So it's a no brainer that why India would not move towards opalware. right? Melamine has its own problems in terms of the health hazards that it has, and maybe the hard plastic that it is. It'll definitely shift towards opalware. Is what is very evident from the advantages that opalware has, and because humanity has this thing that it always moves towards more efficient and a better suited product. I don't think that there's something which will stop the adoption of opalware in the coming decade, right? And it's a number two player in India, but with the new capacity expansion and also plans which are lined up, maybe it can compete with the leader very well, or in fact become the leader also. That may be the way forward. The sales jump, if you can see, from 50 crores around 220 crores, and maybe the vision of the promoters can take it to 1,000 crores in the near future. We should not be surprised they keep on expanding this category because it's growing very fast, right? With the new plant that they have, they can at least reach around 350 to 400 crores. Is what can be a reasonable expectation, because they can also have higher margin products over there where they can launch. The growth drivers, as I was already explaining, the urban market, also the hospitality industry, health consciousness, shift from plastics, all these things, which in a way will take the market towards, you can say, opalware in the coming years. Non-glassware segment, which they currently have appliances market, right, which has a 9,000 crores, a larger addressable market than the other segments which Borosil has. But then Borosil is not a leader over here, right? So we should not expect that it becomes any leader or things like that. But they are using the distribution chain, the brand Borosil, well, to capture the mind share of the niche segment that they want to attract over there, because they are not making commoditized or low quality products. The focus of the management, and that is where again, when these products were launched, a lot of us have asked the management, why this, and why you want to enter appliances. This is not your category, and if you're making it from someone else, what would happen? So Shivar said that in our company, I don't listen to consultants and decide. It was not that a consultant approached me and told me, boss, aapko ye appliances ka dhanda bhi karna chahiye. That is now not how the management works. What Shiva told, that for many years it was their own people, right, on the sales side, which were pushing them, that was, we should have appliances because we should capture more market of mind share of audience, and that is where appliances fit in very well. And that over the years, then Shrivar got convinced, and of the feedback of his own team, he launched this. And when he launched, he said just one thing, that our brand in the glassware side is of the best quality, and same should be for the appliances. Only then we should maybe venture into this. And hence you look at whatever product Borosil has in the market, you have maybe 5, 7, 10 brands, but Borosil's product quality would be ahead or maybe equal to one of the best that are there out there. So that's the kind of mindset that they had, that they want to have a commensurate, you can say, quality of the product, right? So it's a fragmented market, of course, but the urban market, which has almost 65% of the total revenues, is where Borosil is focused. And products which in a way can have the mind share of the people who identify the Borosil brand. And few products we've already seen for Borosil becoming very successful, and the growth rate happening very fast over here. As the country move forward, we will use a lot of appliances, and those appliance market can also be a good grower for this company, right? In the non-glassware industry, we've already seen that they've already from 120 crores reached to 200 crores of sales. Flasks, also bottles, and a lot of things. They've already made a lot of tie-ups with a lot of sports events where they've been highlighting their brand, right? So the consumer wear business totally is around 570 crores. uh, the management is speaking of 1,000 crores, but the way the enterprise is being made, I guess they're building a company for 2,000 crores just consumer wear, right? So when they hit 2,000 crores of just consumer wear, I believe the market, for the consumer wear itself, can be around, the market cap can be around 12, 13, 14,000 crores, because of, if you look at in India, even slow growing consumer brands, which are growing at 5, 7%, have had 70, 80 kind of multiples, 90 multiples, right? This is a company which is growing very fast, the sales very fast, has demonstrated the ability to start new businesses, acquire businesses, and turn them around and grow sales. If they achieve 2,000 crores of turnover, I'm sure market cap to sales 6-7 times the market would be able to easily give them. Borosil, which is recognized for its again quality products. We did a lot of scuttlebutt analysis, and what we found was that they've got competition from Cello and Trio in storage boss segment. That is a segment which in a way they're not that maybe leader because there's a high competition, but when it comes to tiffins or grillers, or there where they're gaining a lot of traction. Also the products which as again microwavable glass, no one, in fact no one is preferred ahead of Borosil, and they have a very strong market over there. There's a lot of short supply of the products, hence they post COVID they were maybe also trying to maybe have new supply, and now the tie-ups or the expansion that are happening can increase the sales naturally because there was demand and they were not able to supply. So a lot of distributors whom also we met, they are placing Borosil products, and they're very confident on the growth of Borosil because there's a natural recall from the customers end. When a brand has a natural recall from the customers end, that's the best situation that you want to be in, right? So that is where definitely Borosil stands. Right, and see, it's like a distributor for him. Even if Borosil is giving lesser margins, but if it has a high recall factor and the inventory turnover is high, then even lesser margins would work, right? Because if someone is giving even double the margins of Borosil, but the product is stuck. For example, Borosil product maybe have a turnaround or time of 1 or 2 months, and it is affording giving 3, 4, 5% margins. That's better than a product which is offering 10% margins and not getting sold for 7, 8 months, right? So that's the kind of you can say margins which Borosil can work with its distributor because of the sales churn that it is able to provide to its distributors, right? And hence it is protecting its margins and not throwing the margins to the distribution channel. In appliances, definitely they'll have to offer more margins till the brand becomes a bit large, but then eventually that thing should also work well. So scientific ware business, the laboratory glass business, over 65% market share, almost 70% market share, I'll say, right? So the SKUs that they have, no one can match. 2,000 SKUs, a Sun Pharma or a large pharma client or a chemical client, whatever SKU they have, Borosil gives them that SKU with a least time lag because of the capabilities that they've made over the years. And I don't think who can challenge that part of the business of Borosil is in fact the moated business, the most moated business that one can come across because of the way they have in a way over the years made the relationships and also delivered the most complex products that the clients always had and in the least timeline when they wanted. So that is one cash cow which is sitting out there churning a lot of money for Borosil. The margins are very high, and that cash cow is now going into, they bought the pharma packaging business and also lab instrumentations, which would be the high growing markets, right? So those would be the high growing segments which the company can easily because the lab instruments market, think about it, all these food testing laboratories that are getting set up by brands themselves or for checking in the national laboratory by the government, both require these instruments, right? Which is the focus point for Borosil now. And these instruments were completely imported till now, and in the Pune factory now Borosil is manufacturing them, and that is in a way gaining. And we've attended a lot of these industry events where Borosil had their presence, and we could see how they were explaining their clients and also winning some clients early days. But if they're able to convince, because the cost of Borosil products almost 30-40% lesser than the imported products, and they have a benefit of local, you can say, servicing of these products, AMC getting for these instruments locally, which is very can be a very value add proposition for them. Pharma packaging, glass wires and ampoules, again, COVID was one very big, you can say, high point for the company. But this market, the injectable market, is again growing, right? So maybe this year they couldn't grow as much because the COVID growth was exceptional, but then the normal growth trajectory would definitely be very good with the injectables growing very well. raw material, again, tubings is something that they import and is being used, so they are trying for tubing also to have a plant or maybe some local supply agreement, but then that is something they are dependent on currently. Borosilicate glass, silica, magnesia, and all these things are almost like commodities and doesn't hurt their profitability. But yes, electricity prices or all these things do hurt them, and that if they are able to bring down the cost in the future, that can increase the margins pretty well. Again, if you look at the market size of the opportunity, the lab glassware in India has around 250 crores of market, growing at 8-10%, right? And they sell in the brand Borosil itself, and pharma, R&D, QC, whatever these departments, they need these kind of lab glassware. Lab glassware exports, it's a 4,000 crores kind of a market. It's growing at 2-3%. But Borosil now, because of the problems that are there in Europe and the energy crisis, is getting a lot of traction, be it in consumer glassware or lab glassware. Exports can happen very nicely. Lab instrumentation, around 570 crores kind of a market, growing at 8-10%. Again, pharma, R&D, food testing, soil testing is where Borosil is focusing on, food and soil testing. And LabQuest by Borosil is the brand over there, right? And pharma packaging, ClassPack is the division, around a 1,200 crores kind of market cap, going at 12%. Pharma companies are, in fact, India is in a way becoming a lot of big hub for these, you can say, vials or vaccines, and pharma companies in COVID have proven that India was a hub. So anything in the future would also make our companies grow faster, because whenever any vaccine is getting developed, India is the most sought after destination to scale it up. So revenue trends, if you look at, because COVID was a distorted year, these trends can be a bit misleading. But going forward, as I was telling you, if you can focus towards whether this can become a 2,000 crores consumer brand, is what the most, you can say, you can say upside from this company can come, and whether LabQuest can grow fast, or maybe vials and ampoules can grow fast, and it can become a sizable player over there, can bring the future growth of the company, right? Again, capital outlay, we've already understood that they currently have, right, in all the divisions, and maybe the total capital outlay, when it comes, again, the revenues can grow fast. Growth drivers, pharma is, maybe rapidly growing for them domestically, and if these injectables keep on growing, they have a good market which they can have in vials and ampoules also. Chem Expo 2022 in Mumbai, or a lot of these companies, R&D laboratories, when we go, we observe Borosil glass laboratory everywhere. In fact, it's there almost 90% of the times, right? Again, these are things which, in a way, something which it is a division which, in a way, the growth is dependent, I would say, on pharma companies and other companies. So I will not talk much about it, but the consumer wear business is where the growth can come, because of the efforts of the company, because of the things that they are launching, the marketing that they're doing. And laboratory glassware is something which will be dependent always, right? But yes, it's a cash cow, and instrumentation and packaging can bring the growth, is what we believe over there, is our thesis. Why Borosil? Why someone should look at Borosil? As I was discussing in the other slides, Shrivar's resolve in the way he operates, the way he's empowered his team over the years, built an organization which can handle almost 2,000 crores kind of a consumer sales, and maybe going forward also of 10,000 or 1,500 kind of pharma division or packaging sales, is what you should look at. The growth mindset, along with aggressive marketing strategy, social media engagement, feedback from the team that Borosil itself has, or team who is coordinating with Borosil in terms of their products that they want to keep in their distribution channels, is what gives us a lot of confidence. The robust capex plans that the company has, around 625 crores, which we've within glassware and your scientific wear, consumer wear and scientific wear, again, is a growth driver. All these are converging next year, hence the growth cycle next year can be fantastic, and the margin upside can happen post the ramp up of those plants, right? Demerger again is a very important thing that is happening again next year, where Borosil would now be demerged into two companies: A, the consumer wear business, and second, the Borosil scientific glassware business. The management is talking about the March timeline, but whenever it happens, the consumer wear business, see, currently not much institutions own Borosil, right? And I'm in touch with a lot of good, in you can say, fund managers who are considering entering the Borosil consumer wear business, right? So they're very much focused. But the lab glassware business can also surprise us if the lab instruments business and packaging business grows well, right? So I'm saying that the consumer wear business itself can be equal to the market cap that the company currently has, right? So whatever you're getting in the scientific wear business, those shares can surprise you on the upside if there is a takeoff. So there's an optionality over there which we can play easily. Maybe it can list around 1,000 crores market cap, and then it can be taken forward, or whatever. I'm just judging 1,015 crore whatever market cap, and then it can be taken forward as and when it grows. So the current structure is 70.33 promoters, 29.67 is with the public. Going forward, again, the resulting structure in Borosil Limited would be the same, but Borosil, you can say scientific, where the promoters would reduce to 68.06 and 31.94 would be with the public, because the class pack business they didn't hold. The 100% is not with the Borosil, right? The revenue estimation and maybe valuation, if we talk about, so maybe the consumer wear business can reach around 1,000 crores by 2025. It can reach early also if the ramp ups are happening fast. The EBITDA at that time in the consumer business can be roughly around 180 crores, and that can give it a fair valuation of around 4,500 crores, we believe. And the scientific wear business can be around 400 crores in 2025, around 100 kind of an EBITDA. So the total PAT of the company, of both the companies, can be around 200 to 250 crores. But the overall market cap combined, if you look at post listing, can be around 5,500 crores, and then it can grow at the rate which the businesses grow, right? So if you look at the EBITDA margin improvements in the longer run, case in point, as we're talking about TTK Prestige, how consumer brands become, such profitable companies, because gross margin profile doesn't change. But if you look at the EBITDA margin, changes from 8% to almost, 16, 17%, right? And that happens because of your rationalization of, selling and distribution expenses, right? So if you look at the overall journey of, TTK Prestige, how their EBITDA margins doubled was when the brand delivered higher numbers, right? So when it goes from a 250 crore sales or 300 crore sales way back in 2007 to around 1,000 crore sales, that is where the ramp up leads to higher margins, and similar things can happen with Borosil going forward, right? Shift from plastic to glass, good quality products, right? Export opportunities, lean balance sheet, ability to understand consumer needs, right? And the journey from scientific glassware to microware to daily glassware and now kitchen appliances means that they are moving forward, means that maybe Shriver has bigger plans for the future and is growing very fast, right? Building robust distribution network is something, again, they're very focused, and we've seen in the past slides how they've grown, right? So the peer comparison, if we do, Laopla is in fact the leader, market share 36%. They've announced the capex, and the total capacity will reach almost maybe Borosil will also almost reach their capacity with their expansion also, which they've announced. So they have announced a higher capex, almost doubling their capex, and Borosil currently has almost 24% market share, can go up to roughly 30% market share post the expansion. Cello is the third player, which has around 9% market share. Also, they're present in the segment, but then these two are by far the leaders, Laopla and Borosil, and market is shifting towards the favor of the leaders, right? If you look at the Laopla finances, there you can see how they because Laopla is an established brand. They were in this business longer, and they were leader, and Lara was just in a small business which maybe Borosil took and ramped it up, and now it is going in overdrive. But look at the profitability, right? I mean, they completely, surprise on the profitability every time, but the operating margins are close to 40%, right? That is the kind of, you can say, margin which a leader when has done its all its branding and everything has. Maybe Borosil going forward, it has some cost disadvantages because of electricity, which Laopla doesn't have. Laopla is an advantage that maybe cannot be solved, but the marketing part and other efficiencies can maybe solve. In electricity also, the company is discussing few things with the Rajasthan government, where Jaipur plant they have. Let's see how that discussion goes. Key risks: the global supply chain disruptions, because the borosilicate, you can say, imports can get disrupted. Input costs can go up because of that. Capacity constraint needs to be seen how they ramp up, and also high power cost is something that you need to look at. Financials of Borosil, again, the EBITDA margins currently are small compared to a Laopla, but it can grow very fast. As we were referring to, the gross margins over here in Borosil are still good, but then yes, it needs to be converted into operating margins. As and when that happens, the company's ROE profile would improve further, right? And the consumer wear business, in fact, the ROC and the scientific wear ROC are roughly similar, which is in a way very iconic. That means the focus of the management is very much on what return ratios that they are making, and going forward, when these two businesses would be run separately, the focus would in fact improve, and the consumer wear business can, because of the ramp up in the brand's presence and everything, can have a better ROC going forward. Again, so these are the numbers for the past 4-5 years. They're reaching around 100 crores of PAT now. Going forward, let's hope they're able to reach 200 faster than what they did 100 in the past. These are a bit ratios which everyone can get. I mean, it's very simple to, you can say, get. Yeah, so that was it, which I wanted to share. Maybe we can take a few questions, or how we can take the flow going forward, Ankit.
Thank you so much, Arvindji. It was a fantastic presentation as expected. And the really good thing which I like about your research is it is all entrepreneurial based, scuttlebutt, and backed with simplicity. You don't put any complex model or something like that, and that is what investing is all about, right? It's simple. You don't need to be that complex. So. So I'm really happy. So many people joined in, and everybody got to learn a lot from your presentation. I have a few questions from my end first.
Yes.
I'll take that up, and then we'll open up for audience.
Perfect.
Before doing that, I just wanted to know from you, how are we good at in terms of time? As in, how much time do you have? Because
I'm free. I mean, I don't have anything
great.
planned right now.
So we at Mission Smile has this thing, only the guest and the audience decide the time. I am always available throughout. So since you are free, it is great for us. So I'll take up my questions first, and in the meantime, you all can raise your hand. I'll take up all of you one by one so that you can also ask your question. Okay. So coming up, I was looking at this business since I knew that you are going to present. So this question is not necessarily only for Borosil, but also for any business which has a high inventory days. Because when you see, they have a good amount of working capital tied up in inventory.
Correct.
So I think it would be great if you can share your thought how to look at it, not just in terms of, first you can speak about Borosil, but also in terms of all other items or other companies or businesses, where how do you look at these kind of businesses where there is a high inventory? Because many people have this blanket rule of "Arey, inventory level bahut high hai, chhod do." But that is not how investing is all about, right? So it would be great if you can share your thoughts there.
Yeah, it's a wonderful question, and please understand that these inventory levels, again, when you just look at the numbers and don't understand the business, can always make you discomfort that यार इनका तो inventory बढ़ते जा रहा है, ये पता नहीं ये inventory कब write off हो जाए. Because there have been instances in the past. I still remember a company called Indage Whitners who was into wines and was showing this inventory कि हमारा wine जितना पुराना होते जा रहा है वो उतना ज्यादा महंगे में बिकेगा, ये होएगा वो होएगा. and suddenly one day the inventory was not there and the investors had to lose all their capital, right? So yeah, there have been instances of the past, and that's where it's a very important question, and you should definitely have a close eye on if the inventory days are expanding very much, because that can maybe lead to complete collapse of the company if not managed well, because if the money is getting choked up over there. But few businesses, so for example, for Borosil, they made a conscious choice for shutting down their, you can say, borosilicate tubing furnace. And when they came to, Bharuch, they didn't start the tubing furnace. They said, tubing we will import, right? We can easily get. I did not know, make it. People are happy with the quality that I'm eventually making, so that doesn't matter. So they have to have inventory of the tubing, and the SKUs that they make is mind blowing. You go to their Bharuch plant, the number of SKUs that they have to keep for these institutional clients is something, time is an essence for them, because in a laboratory, if you don't have the instruments on time, there can be a lot of delays in their production, right? So that is where, because of the relationships that they eventually, over the years made, their inventory is high, maybe will remain high. I mean, that is something which will happen, only they will come down only if they figure out to put up a, so they in a way trying to put up a furnace over here for tubing, so that inventory level can reduce, but the SKU would not reduce, because their strong point is their SKUs. The market share is because of their SKUs for their inventory that they make, and the margin that they make are so you should check the margin. If someone is just accumulating inventory, not making margin, right? For example, a solar business where you're importing the panels, and there it's a commoditized 5-6% margins if you make. So the margins are so thin that an inventory loss can completely wipe off the profitability, right? So you should take the inventory picture, look at the margin that the company is making, and if the margins are healthy, to keep the inventory, and they've been stable across years, which in the case of Borosil they have been, I'm not that concerned, because that brings the clients to Borosil.
That's it. So my next question would be in terms of valuation. So in your slide, you presented about that you're expecting somewhere around 200 crores of PAT in FY25, right? So if you look at the current valuation of 4,600 crore market cap, so is it not right to say that it looks like a bit on the expensive side, right?
It is on the expensive side. I definitely agree. But why you think that the levers to profitability, if we look at in other consumer brands, are less than Borosil, still they are valued more and the growth is less. So if you take this combination, that you look at the other maybe consumer brands or appliance brands, they're not directly comparable to Borosil. But what is happening over here is, as I explained in the case of TTK Prestige, for few years, these companies would look expensive when they're building their brand, because the profitability would be fully blown when the brand has developed itself. In the growing stage, they will always, you think about Titan. For many years, when Titan was growing its brand, it has another problem. It had to also grow stores. Borosil के पास वो problem नहीं है. मैं नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि Titan जैसी कोई story Borosil में जिसकी वजह से margins are बहुत कम है valuation. मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि in a business which grows fast, is making a brand and is opening more stores, what happens is that every time you open a new store, उसकी सेल्स आने में टाइम लगेगा ना. उस लोकेलिटी में लोग टाइटन का शोरूम अच्छा देखेंगे, आएंगे, करेंगे, लेकिन उसका खर्चा तो डे वन से चालू है. इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का खर्चा, उसका रेंटल, उसका डेप्रिसिएशन, एवरीथिंग, स्टाफ सैलरी, एवरीथिंग. इट विल नॉट बी अंडर स्टाफ, राइट? सो व्हाट हैपेंस इज, जब टाइटन का बेस ही है 10 शोरूम, और जब वो और 5 शोरूम फटाफट खोलता है, तो सेल्स ग्रोथ पर स्टोर कम आती है. खर्चा पहले लगता है, इन्वेंट्री सब पहले लग जाता है, आपका इन्वेंट्री नहीं, सॉरी, ओवरहेड सब पहले लग जाते हैं. और फिर जब वो स्टोर मेच्योर होता है, उसमें भीड़ आती है, सारी चीजें होती है, तब जाके उसकी प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी पूरी दिखने लगती है, राइट? सो दो बोरोसिल डजंट हैव फ्रेंचाइज स्टोर्स ऑफ इट्स ओन, बट इट इज अ कंज्यूमर ब्रांड विच इज गोइंग इनटू न्यू वर्टिकल्स एंड इज एडवर्टाइजिंग. उसके लिए खर्चा क्या है, ओवरहेड क्या है, एडवर्टीजमेंट, प्रेजेंस in major categories, and that will bring sales. Awareness would bring sales. People are getting more aware towards glass storage. People are getting more aware towards not using plastic, or you can say these non-microwavable tiffins, right? People are getting more aware towards opalware, right? Which is a product which, in a way, we start maybe having regular dinner in opalware, right? Abhi regular dinner India takes in steel plates, right? We all are accustomed to that. Diwali aati hai to chandi ki plate mein देते, ठीक है? So that culture is, I'm not saying that culture is good or bad. What I'm trying to say is the trend is towards opalware in large cities where we see, and that will in a way have an impact on the sales that this company can do in the future, and the capex, right? 650. So we've seen this group, in fact many groups other also, when they signal huge capex after a lot of years of hard work, is when they are the most confident about their business, right? So Borosil renewal ka capex covid se just pehle hua tha. People ignored that क्योंकि फिर कोविड हो गया फटाफट, और फिर पता नहीं क्या होगा, तब मार्जिन भी कुछ खास आए नहीं थे. But because they did it before the COVID and the market, when they helped it, they further announced the capex back to back. And as we saw the journey, B2B business में वो हो सकता है, because glass solar business itself is growing that fast, so उतना sales grow fast उसमें हो जाएगा. Consumer में इतना तेजी से नहीं होगा, लेकिन 625 crores is not a small capex this company is doing. And these are not the promoters who are flashy or who do this very often. So the signaling that they are doing, I believe that they are facing high growth, and a lot of products they were in fact getting challenges that the demand was high and they were not having the capacity. Hence, they are planning this, and that sales will happen. Ramp ups would happen, so the earnings would grow at a faster rate in the coming 5-7 years, right? So Borosil is a company. If someone has, if I want to keep some money from my daughter, right, I just buy this and forget it. What will happen to the microwave glass industry 10 years from now, 15 years from now? Whatever happens in the US, I don't think Borosil brand would not be there, or will not be, having microwave glass over here. I don't think. See, maybe the consumer appliance business, I'm not sure uska kitna brand bana payenge, nahi bana payenge. But in a lot of their other businesses, the trajectory is very clear. So you can look at the profit number and say it's expensive. It is for sure. But you can look at the consumer wear business. Why I'm buying it right now? So the very important question is कि expensive है तो सब होने दो ना, बाद में खरीदेंगे. Why I'm buying right now, and we were buying in fact since almost 2,900 or 3,000 crore kind of a market cap. अभी थोड़ा बड़ा. If you look at just 4-5 महीने में बड़ा. एंड क्यों बड़ा हमको थोड़ा समझ नहीं आया, बिकॉज अभी भी एलिवेटेड है थोड़े कॉस्ट स्ट्रक्चर्स जो अभी भी इस इंडस्ट्री को परेशान कर रहे हैं. पहला दिवाली है जहाँ पे डिसरप्शन नहीं थे, तो इनके प्रोडक्ट्स की डिमांड ठीक थी, बट अभी भी मार्जिन आर नॉट बैक टू द नॉर्मल. दे विल कम बैक टू द नॉर्मल. बट ये एक विंडो मेरे पास है इसके डीमर्जर का, राइट? सो डीमर्जर से पहले वी वांटेड टू बाय, and we got a foot into the door at a small market cap. Now we had also increasing at this market cap also our allocation, because demerger के बाद मुझे लगता है कंज्यूमर वेयर में बहुत सारे इंस्टीट्यूशंस आने वाले हैं. उस बिजनेस की लाइकिंगनेस इज देयर विद इन द इंस्टीट्यूशंस, बट बिकॉज छोटा मार्केट कैप है और मे बी दो बिजनेसेस कंबाइंड है, तो लॉट ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशंस वर इग्नोरिंग इट. दे विल नॉट पोस्ट दैट. So I don't want to wait for that event and go and buy the consumer wear business on the listing, because I think that will be at a premium. तो मैं उस प्रीमियम को बचाना चाहता हूँ, और फिर ये ग्रोथ जितना मेरा कैपिटल का ले पाएगी गोइंग फॉरवर्ड, जैसे जैसे एग्जीक्यूट होगा. सो दीज आर द टू थिंग्स. सो मेरे को लगता है मेरा वो 20 to 25% काइंड ऑफ कैगर इस कंपनी में ये दो लेवर्स की वजह से बनेगा, इज वेयर आई एम कंफर्टेबल विद द मार्केट कैप.
So yes, so I'll now probably move to the audience. So Ravindra, I see your hands being raised. I've unmuted you. You can straight away ask your question.
Hey, thank you for giving the opportunity. It was really a great session.
Thank you, Arvind.
Arvind, I have been actually following you, our small case, at least from last 2 years. So the three major small cases like which you have actually provided, like small and mid cap, green energy, and China plus one. So three of them look to be very interesting. Like for people like me, it is being like very confusing. Like, so if I want to which trend I have to choose, because three of them are like very interesting, but again like charges wise, if I take like three again, like
Yeah, very important question. And that is where in many presentation I've told that you have to be focused on the cost that you're paying, right? Don't get
Right.
attracted. See, for us, sometimes what happens is a lot of people, because we identified the green energy theme and we thought that the theme is growing faster than maybe our own portfolio also. So we branched out a new small case out of it, which is a product that one should buy if they are not, having green energy at a part of the portfolio, or they want to have a niche portfolio, right? But if someone is buying a mid and small cap, so we are playing mid and small cap, maybe energy transition. So green energy is branched out from mid and small cap. China plus one is branched out from mid and small cap. So mid and small cap, if you want to buy only one, you should buy mid and small cap, because that has these large trends. And then उसमें से हमने दो ट्रेंड्स बाहर निकाली है, तो होगा क्या, कई बार ग्रीन एनर्जी इज ग्रोइंग फास्टर, तो आपको लगेगा मिड एंड स्मॉल कैप का कैगर कम हो रहा है, ग्रीन का ज्यादा हो रहा है, लेट मी बाय अ green energy. So
Right.
so that confusion creates, but I still tell to my investors कि एक होती है हमने बेसिक मेरी फाइनेंशियल प्लानिंग कर ली और फिर मेरे पास कैपिटल है रिस्क लेने का, फिर मेरे पास और कैपिटल, तो एक तो होता है कि पहले हम मिड एंड स्मॉल कैप में है, ठीक है, तो पहले ही आप थोड़ा ज्यादा रिस्क ले रहे हो हमारे साथ इन्वेस्ट करने का, तो यू शुड नॉट बाय इट एज द ओनली प्रोडक्ट दैट यू हैव, राइट? यू शुड डू ऑल योर फाइनेंशियल प्लानिंग एंड देन मे बी बाय अ रिस्की प्रोडक्ट, एंड देन इफ यू हैव मोर कैपिटल, then only plan even more focused, a green energy or a China plus one kind of a product, because that is highly risky also, because only one strategy,
Right.
and the returns can also be higher, but in phases that can also underperform. So वो वैसा होना कि बेसिक चीज कर लो फिर थोड़ा सा you can try. So my recommendation would be not pay a lot in terms of fees for sure.
Yeah. If I have chance to ask for one more, that was really helpful, like what you have actually informed. Is there a way that you can actually, like, considering small and mid cap are like very volatile, okay? So is there something that you can actually suggest, like way of investing as well, like in case based on your experience, like do you recommend monthly SAP, or maybe do you recommend, because when the market actually falls because of any geopolitical issues or anything, it might go like 30%, 40% as well, considering small and mid cap. It might happen like maybe 5 times or 6 times in a year. It might not happen like those more than that, those many number of times also. So do you suggest regular SIP kind of mode, or maybe like do you suggest maybe wait for such kind of opportunities and go with some minimum investment of like 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs that you generally recommended in your small case profile in description as well. On top of that, like maybe wait for a month or couple of months, and whenever you see an opportunity, go and invest. So what do you generally recommend for small and
It's a
mid cap?
wonderful question, and please understand, people say SIP is the best, but in small and mid cap, sometimes lump sum way works way better if you, in a way, as you very rightly said, there are global events, geopolitical events, elections, budgets which are bad, lot of events. सी हमको लगता है कि मार्केट अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं देता, मार्केट का तो काम ही अपॉर्चुनिटी देने का होता है यार, मतलब in June, for example, people are crying like, world would come to an end, things like that. Well, my stocks were available 30% cheaper. Shivalik Bimetal had crashed by 40%. And in a way, that was a company which was growing fast, and we were so much, worried ourselves कि यार ये क्या हो रहा है, इतना कोई इसको buyer क्यों नहीं मिल रहा है, but ऐसे समय में कोई buyer नहीं मिलता है. And one good result, and the companies, maybe even higher than 50% of the previous peak. Forget about the 40% drawdown. So ये होता रहता है, right? इसीलिए there's a very important way of timing your lump sums into small and mid cap. थोड़ा बहुत SIP तो खैर हमको करना ही चाहिए, वो आप करो, that's a
Right.
discipline that you follow. But you also make maybe in six months a lump sum which is not directly going into equities right now. It is lying in a safer whatever product. The power of that infused at the right time. आपको ज्यादा रॉकेट साइंस चाहिए नहीं, हर बजट के बाद मार्च में मार्केट में कुछ ना कुछ रोना धोना होता ही है, ठीक है, कोई कभी
Right.
टैक्सेशन की वजह से या कुछ भी छोटे, और मार्च में टैक्स एडजस्टमेंट की वजह से there is every March I have seen there are 4-5 days जहां पे there is complete illiquidity in the market because people planning their taxation whatever या post budget कुछ एक problem किसी taxation के regarding, and all are there selling stocks or maybe sucking the liquidity out. उसके लिए तो एक ट्रांच आदमी का रहना ही चाहिए कि मार्च महीने के लिए मैं एक प्रिजर्व करके रखूं, वो तो गिवन है, हमारी इंडियन कंडीशंस की वजह से ही वो क्रिएटेड होता है एवरी मार्च। अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट एक अपॉर्चुनिटी हमको यूएस या यूरोप या कोई एक फलाना यूरोपियन कंट्री दे देता है, व्हेन इट इज फॉलिंग इनटू ट्रबल, कभी ऑयल शॉक, व्हाटएवर, वी डू गेट these stocks and they prove to be good opportunities for long term investors. So utilizing your lump sums in mid and small cap, I'm not talking about large cap, वहां पे आप definitely SIP works better, but in small companies it works better than using definitely SIP works, but एक fund you create definitely for lump sums would be working far better also.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much, Arvind. Hope you
Yeah.
would be doing these things continuously over the time, like when you get time.
Sure.
Yeah. Have a great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So now I'll move on to Mr. Meet Shah. So first of all, I would like to thank Meet Bhai for getting me introduced to Arvind ji. So thank you so much. I'll just unmute you. You can ask your question.
Hi Meet
Hi
bhai.
Ankit bhai. Hi Arvind sir, કેમ છો?
बढ़िया.
Okay, Ankit bhai, fantastic session. Great session again, Arvind sir.
Thank you so
Sir,
much.
it's like today is Sunday, tomorrow is my birthday. So this is the perfect gift I can get from investing community.
Oh wow. તો પાર્ટી चाहिए મીત ભાઈ કલ.
હા તો ચલો સર હવે આપણે જઈએ ને.
કાલે આવવાનું છે સુરત, આજે અમદાવાદ.
Chalo. Okay, so sir, what I have learned from this session is two of the most important things in investing are spotting the winners early and holding your winners for long. So it's like spot them early, catch them young. We have Arvind sir, and for hold them long, we have Ankit bhai, who is very disciplined in his process of sipping, holding, and compounding. So it's a great session. Learned a lot. And so thanks to team SSS for serving something fresh to the retailers like us, and team Niveshaay for explaining the good concepts of investing in a very simple manner. So I wish you both very best for the future. Keep shining, keep rising. More power to you guys. Keep the torch of compounding high. Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Meet Bhai. Thank you so much. So I'll now move to Himanshu. Yeah, Himanshu, I have unmuted you. You can now ask your question.
Am I audible?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi. So thank you so much for this session. Thank you, Arvind sir. So my question was similar to the first question that was asked. Like, if I have a lump sum amount, how do I deploy it? So I think you answered that. The second question was your time frame for these are approximately 3 to 5 years or say 7 years as such, right? So I was just checking the product that you have on your small cases. They only offer for 6 months. Is that correct, or do they also offer for a higher period?
See, we are not allowed by SEBI to take fees for more than 6 months. So SEBI has this mandate that an advance fee that you can take is only for 6 months. So we cannot help but keep only that. So we could have loved for our long-term investors to have something which they, but we do this. In fact, people who subscribe regularly, they get discounts. In fact, we had this gift this time we gave to our oldest serving clients, which were there since the beginning, the Make in India watch or a book or something. So yes, we do love people who can maybe coordinate, because see, wealth is created by investing long term, right? And I'm much more interested in how people stay longer in whether with me or someone else, because Ankit might also know, and he in fact is a recipient of how long term investing works beautifully. So it's not about going in and out of the markets or things like that, or some products. So we build this product to enable people, right? But yes, and we are bound by certain things that SEBI does. But I'm much more interested, yeah, Saath milke, why not hold Borosil for 5 years, right? I'm not interested in taking any fees also if people paid for 5 years in Borosil, because they themselves would be very much a rewarding process for them. So yeah, definitely would look forward to people investing longer term.
Sure. And you mentioned on the discount front, so if we can understand where or
Sure. You can get on the platform itself, when you renew, you get an option to get in touch with our team, and you can maybe mail, and we right away generate it the day itself.
Sure. And I think I'm again asking the same question, but just to clarify, if someone has say smaller capital, say 5 lakhs or something like that, we should preferably go for small and mid cap small case, right? That's what you suggest.
Surely. See, unless someone, gives a lot of time to the market, and post-COVID, he could understand. So, for example, we shared our note on Borosil on our blog, Borosil Renewal on our blog, and they could understand, green energy is breaking out as a theme globally. ESG would be, good, and that. And hence, you make a conscious decision. No, boss, I want to build my portfolio around green energy for the coming 3-4 years. Then it's good. You can manage your risk well because you yourself are, you can say, aware and tracking those things. But if you are just a plain participant in the market and investing your hard-earned earnings, you should not venture out into risks like these.
Got it. I think the last question would be around trend triology. So I did not understand a lot. Like, what exactly is that, and who should go for it, for example?
So trend trilogy, in some of my videos also I was explaining that in earlier me, in fact every year I feel earlier me was a bit stupid than what I am today. But yes, we used to completely ignore other aspects of investing, right? Completely focused on Scuttlebutt, our data points, our things. But in 2018-19, I had few friends who in fact changed a lot of the thought processes that I had, and they tracked a lot of global trends. They tracked a lot of capital movement trends, and also the long term charts and what they were speaking about a lot of companies, right? And they showed me, यार ये stock तो क्यों लेके बैठा है, ये इसमें clearly visible है कि यार कुछ हो नहीं रहा है, for years nothing has happened, and such industries have not happened anything in US also. And that was very hard hitting, and that is where in 2018 we started doing two things. For whatever company we were buying, we looked at also the global market. तो अगर मैं बोरोसिल रिन्यूअल ले रहा हूँ तो मैं चाइना का भी पूरा ग्लास मार्केट एनालाइज कर रहा हूँ, जो जिसमें सबसे ज्यादा प्रोडक्शन है. ऑल्सो कहीं और पे भी उनके प्लांट्स है, अगर लिस्टेड कंपनीज है तो उनका भी डेटा हम लेते हैं. तो उससे हमको एक ग्लोबल ट्रेंड मिलता है कि ग्लोबली इस तरह के बिजनेस में कभी मार्जिन बने के नहीं है, राइट? एंड द चार्ट्स टोल्ड अस अगेन ग्लोबली इस तरह की कंपनी में फाइनली पैसा भी बनाए के नहीं है. एंड इन इंडियन कॉन्टेक्स्ट आल्सो व्हाट द सेटअप इज. So that was a game changer for us when we found out. And the past 3-4 years we've integrated. So one Mr. Bhavin Bhai is now in our team who is very good at these trends and our data. We've integrated and we've seen the benefits of both coming together. So trends trilogy is a combination of these two skills where we also pay respect to these large trends happening on the charts and also globally in terms of sectors, and that combination is trend trilogy, I'll say.
Okay, I think these were all the questions from my end. Thank you so much. And as you just mentioned, again, coming back to, if someone has say amount about 5 lakh approximately, he should invest 60-70% upfront and then keep one tranche or something of that sort for March fall or something of that. Right?
Yes,
that is the holistic idea.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manju. I'll now go to Prince, who is also known as accidental investor. So, Prince, I have unmuted you. You can ask your question.
Hi Ankit, hi Arvind. Just wanted to thank you guys for this wonderful session on Sunday morning. So I had a chance to interact with Arvind when he came to Delhi, and that was a great session too. So thanks again, Arvind and Ankit. Trust me, you are doing a wonderful job by bringing so many learned people over your platform and doing a great service to everyone around. So thank you so much. No question for today. Just wanted to thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prince. Thank you. I'll now go to Pankaj. Pankaj, I've unmuted you. You may ask your question.
Hi, Arvind bhai. Thank you so much for your time.
Hello, Pankaj.
Arvind जी, मैं आपको ना 5-6 months से मैं आपको सुन रहा हूँ, and I'm getting a lot of more insight. Honestly speaking, मैं 5-6 साल से अभी यहाँ पे इन्वेस्टिंग कर रहा हूँ. Honestly speaking, जहाँ पे भी जितने भी हम लोग जो भी बिजनेस देखते हैं ना, हमें हर बिजनेस अच्छा लगता है as a new learner, right? तो देखो मार्केट में अभी है ना, पर्टिकुलरली आफ्टर कोविड काफी सारी कंफ्यूजन है अमंग द रिटेल इन्वेस्टर. स्मॉल केस से या कुछ पीएमएस लो या कुछ लो, वो बहुत सारा कंफ्यूजन है. लेकिन जैसे अभी विद दिस सेशन हमें अंडरस्टैंड होता है हमने किसके साथ जाना है. जाना है तो लॉन्ग टर्म पे जाना है, राइट, एज वी ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड।
करेक्ट।
तो मुझे बताओ, आपके पास कुछ पीएमएस टाइप का ऐसा कुछ प्रोडक्ट है जहाँ पे हम लोग लॉन्ग टर्म का सोच सके आपके साथ?
So अभी we have an advisory platform जहाँ पे भी we do direct advisory apart from small case for few family offices as I was mentioning, but our license would be there in maybe 6 months. So we have applied for a license and within 6 months we will be having that. Currently we don't have a PMS license, and it is somewhere, you know, most of these family offices, you know, who had these 15-20 PMSs, and we only way back in 2015-16 told them, अरे यार आप बताओ इनमें कितना पैसा बन रहा है, the average return was 7-8%. So we only advise them that, you know, direct stocks is what you should hold, and that makes, you know, multiple returns over the years, and they in a way you know, understood that, and they had a fantastic journey. Now for 5 years we are explaining them, boss हम लोग same structure में PMS में कर लेते हैं, but they are reluctant because they've enjoyed the fruits of, you know, direct investing. तो उनको लग रहा है हम भी PMS में वो 50 स्टॉक्स ले लेंगे और फिर ज्यादा वो डाइवर्सिफाइड हो जाएगा या फीस ज्यादा लग जाएगा, whatever, I'm not sure. But yes, now we have good people on board जो कि समझ रहे हैं कि यार our mindset, and now with the relationship we have, they are much more wanting to come on that platform with us. So yeah, it is now sorted, but yes, we had difficult time you know, maybe making them unlearn and now relearn things. That is where it took us a lot of time, but yes, we'll be up and running in 5-6 months.
अरविंद सर, और एक क्वेश्चन था। नॉर्मली ना आपने जो बात किया, स्मॉल केस, मिड केस इज वन ऑफ द स्मॉल केस दैट यू हैव, अनदर स्मॉल केस यू हैव इज अ ग्रीन पोर्टफोलियो, राइट? ग्रीन जो है ग्रीन एनर्जी। So if I buy all these let's say 2 or 3 small cases, my portfolio, you know, the number of stocks in my
would go
portfolio
up, yes,
right? और इसमें कुछ मेरे भी कुछ कन्विक्टेड आइडिया है, तो ये पूरी खिचड़ी बन जाती है।
correct,
तो इसको हम लोग सॉर्ट आउट करें, हाउ वी कैन बिल्ड दैट कन्विक्शन?
as I told in the past question also, आपको वैसे एक ही स्टॉक लेना चाहिए, मिड एंड स्मॉल कैप। वो आपकी लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टिंग के लिए इट्स अ बिकॉज उसमें हम सारी थीम्स प्ले करेंगे, कोई थीम प्ले नहीं होगी तो उसको निकाल के न्यू थीम भी इंट्रोड्यूस करते रहेंगे, राइट? जो ब्रांच जैसे ग्रीन एनर्जी हमने लॉन्च किया, हमने हमेशा के लिए नहीं किया। वी थॉट दैट इट हैज हाई ग्रोथ रेट फॉर द कमिंग 7-8 years whatever, so maybe this product would no longer be there in the coming 4-5 years, I don't know. If the theme keeps on playing and keeps on generating good returns, you know, the companies that are there are making more sales and profits are growing, तब तक तो ठीक है। तो वो तो क्या है कि कभी हम ये करते हैं ना, किसी एक सेक्टर पे ज्यादा एलोकेशन करते हैं क्योंकि हमको लग रहा है कि ये सेक्टर अच्छा कर रहा है, तो ग्रीन एनर्जी सेक्टर अभी अच्छा कर रहा है, तो उसके लिए आपने शॉर्ट टर्म के लिए एलोकेट कर दिया कुछ अमाउंट, और एज एन व्हेन यू यू नो रोड दैट थिंग, यू रिड्यूस दैट अमाउंट एंड अपनी investing में वापस से, you know, you buy companies based on the long term trajectory more is what I would recommend. तो बहुत ज्यादा प्रोडक्ट लेके कंफ्यूज होने की जरूरत नहीं है। ग्रीन एनर्जी के कुछ कंपनियां हमारे यू नो स्मॉल एंड मिड कैप में भी है, उसमें भी हमने लेके रखी है, उतनी क्वांटम में नहीं है, उतनी सारी नहीं है जितनी स्मॉल स्मॉल केस जो ग्रीन एनर्जी का अलग से बना है उसमें है। बट हाँ, जो आपने बोला ना, खिचड़ी कभी मत पकाना, बिकॉज दैट विल ऑलवेज लीड टू लेसर रिजल्ट। भले कुछ भी हो जाए खिचड़ी में, तो रिजल्ट आपका कम ही आएगा, मार्केट से आप अंडर परफॉर्म ही करेंगे। इनफैक्ट कन्विक्शन अगर आप खुद थोड़ा टाइम देके थोड़ा प्ले अराउंड इस तरह से कर सकते हैं ना, जैसे मैंने लमसम को आप यूज करो ड्यूरिंग डल मार्केट्स, या ये ऐसे फेजेस जब ग्रीन एनर्जी पोर्टफोलियो माइट बी डूइंग वेल बिकॉज ऑफ द ट्रेंड्स इट इज, तब उसमें थोड़ा एलोकेशन बढ़ा के वापस से विड्रॉ कर लिया। अब ये चीजें हम लोग एक्टिवली आपके लिए नहीं कर सकते है ना, बट आप लोग अगर थोड़ा टाइम दे रहे हैं मार्केट में, विच इज समथिंग अगेन what Ankit ji is doing, a lot of platforms post COVID I've seen are beautifully doing this to educate the audience. And India में ना प्रॉब्लम यही थी कि लोग टाइम नहीं दे रहे थे, टाइम दे तो अकल तो हमारे पास है ही। People are now giving time, and I'm seeing this brilliant change amongst a set of investors जो इन्वेस्टिंग को अपने हाथ में जब ले रहे हैं ना, they are doing wonderfully well because they are taking informed decisions. पहले होता क्या था, लोग ये टाइम ही नहीं देते थे। So I'm sure when you give time, and you all guys are capable enough, it's just that उतना टाइम नहीं होता शायद आप लोगों के पास जितना हमारा रिसर्च टीम दे सकता है, बट स्टिल एटलीस्ट गिविंग वीकेंड्स इज व्हाट यू नो आई हैव सीन पीपल डू वंडरफुली वेल themselves by picking and choosing stocks and you know making better returns than what in fact our small case can even have. So that you should definitely try.
बिल्कुल। अच्छा, लास्टली फ्रॉम माय साइड, अभी यहाँ पे ना जैसे आपने बात की ना ग्रीन एनर्जी, देयर इज वन कंपनी बेस्ड आउट ऑफ यूएस, अ कंपनी कॉल्ड प्लग पावर।
Okay.
वो बेसिकली क्या बनाते हैं, दे आर manufacturing the electrolyzers which converts water into the green hydrogens.
Yeah.
So I am based in Dubai. तो हम लोग उनके
Very
लिए
good.
सारा काम कर रहे हैं for Middle East and
Very
North
good.
Africa. So this is one theme which I personally feel it will boom like anything. Number one. And number two, a lot of projects are coming around data centers because
Yeah.
data is new oil. So there is a hell lot of data are roaming around, and every country has to store their own data in their own home country. So there will be a
Correct.
lot of things are happening around Cummins or other data center related companies. So just wanted to share that with you.
Oh, perfect. In fact, we have in India, मतलब हमारे green energy portfolio में we have stocks which can revolve around these themes, right? And that like an MTAR which is into again is trying to make electrolyzers. तो ये सब चीजें definitely जो आप बोल रहे हो ना, ग्रोथ कई बार जहाँ पे हाई होती है ना, वहां पे अगर आपके पास एक अच्छा प्लेयर हो, बस टेक्नोलॉजी डिसरप्शन, तो हम लोग एक चीज का बस ध्यान रखते हैं कि उस प्लेयर में टेक्नोलॉजी डिसरप्शन का अगर बहुत बड़ा चांस है ना, तो उसको अवॉइड करना। तो आप भी अगर उसका ध्यान रखोगे तो पैसा एक्चुअली इनमें बहुत बनेगा। जैसे शिवलिक बायोमेटल एक ऐसी कंपनी है जिसमें मैं जो थीम देखूं दुनिया में चल रही है, वहां पे शंट रजिस्टर का एप्लीकेशन बढ़ने वाला, राइट? बीट इलेक्ट्रिक मीटर्स, बीट सोलर का, जहाँ पे हम आपका ये सोलर की जो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जनरेट हो रही है उसकी मेजरिंग डिवाइसेस हो, चाहे आपका ईवी का चार्जिंग स्टेशन हो, ईवी के व्हीकल्स के अंदर के नंबर ऑफ जो कनेक्शंस हो जो बढ़ रहे हैं बिकॉज ऑफ ऑटोमेशन एंड एवरीथिंग, शंट रजिस्टर का एप्लीकेशन जैसे। तो ऐसी इनडायरेक्ट आपको अगर बेट मिले ना, इट्स फार फार मोर रिवॉर्डिंग। एंड आप अपने प्लग पावर जैसे खोजा है या कोई भी ऐसी कंपनी खोजी है, तो डेफिनेटली इट शुड डू वेरी वेल इफ इट इज प्लेइंग दैट इनडायरेक्ट वे ऑफ द मेन थीम, फॉर श्योर।
Okay, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
अरविंद भाई और अंकित भाई, अगर टाइम मिले तो आई विल कम एंड मीट यू अप if time permits.
Sure.
चलो, thank you sir. Bye.
Thank you. I'm not getting a voice, Ankit bhai.
Actually, I was muted. So I am now seeing a lot of hands being raised. Just one request, limit your questions to 2 so that most people get the opportunity to ask questions. So I'll now move to Amit. Amit, I have unmuted you. You can ask your question.
Sure. Thanks, Arvind. A big fan of yours, needless to say. I had two quick questions, Arvind.
Yes, Arvind.
And both are related. One was that for a capital of say 40 to 50 lakhs, I remember in a previous session I had asked you that is it okay अगर 50% दे दें mid and small cap को, 25% Trilogy को, and बचा हुआ 12.5% each to green energy and China plus one. Does that still hold true, or would you recommend to change the mix?
So as we are evolving and seeing the results, जितने ज्यादा हम results देख रहे हैं और ज्यादा हमको जिस तरह का फीडबैक मिल रहा है, हम ग्रीन एनर्जी को थोड़ा डाउन प्ले कर रहे थे कि हमको लगा ऑलरेडी द थीम हैज बिकम ओवर वैल्यूड एंड हैज गॉन अप अ लॉट। बट हुआ ये कि केमिकल्स जो कि चाइना प्लस वन में थोड़ा ज्यादा पार्ट था, दे हैव नॉट डन वेल दिस क्वार्टर, राइट? एंड देयर आर स्टिल lot of chemical companies जहाँ पे the margin collapses have happened. Going forward also there can be issues. That portfolio again has underperformed and we are changing few allocations over there. बट हमको लग रहा है कि ग्रीन एनर्जी में अभी भी जो अर्निंग्स ग्रोथ इस क्वार्टर भी आई है, and going forward also the companies, the way ESG norms and everything, and next year there are 2-3 listings that we are tracking in this space which will be coming. We are again reanalyzing, recalibrating whether green energy as a percentage of returns that can be made in the portfolio is still maybe better because of the things that can happen in the coming 2-3 years. So I would recommend आप थोड़ा green एनर्जी में बढ़ा सकते हो, टफ द टाइमिंग, एंड चाइना में कम कर सकते हो, इज व्हाट माय अंडरस्टैंडिंग आफ्टर दिस क्वार्टरली रिजल्ट हैज बिकम।
अच्छा, लेकिन क्या 50% मिड एंड स्मॉल कैप और 25%
मिड एंड स्मॉल कैप 50% इज बेस्ट, बिकॉज वहां पे अभी जो हमको लग रहा है कि जो इन्वेंट्री के सारे प्रॉब्लम्स थे वो इवन आउट होके अभी नेक्स्ट जो क्वार्टर से या आने वाले 2 क्वार्टर में जो प्रॉब्लम्स थे मिड में, बिकॉज वी हैड सीन commodity prices go up like vertically and go down in the previous 2 quarters. So the way to manage that was pretty brutal, and hence results अगर आपने देखे हो, कुछ बहुत पॉजिटिव सरप्राइजेस भी है, तो कुछ थोड़े से वैसे भी है जो थोड़ा अंदाजा तो था बट वो अब प्ले आउट हो गया ऐसा लग रहा है। तो नाउ द वैल्यूएशन अगेन वुड बी इंचिंग अप। लोगों को जैसे टेक्सटाइल एक थीम हम ग्रीन मिड एंड स्मॉल कैप में प्ले कर रहे थे, तो यूएस स्लो डाउन की बहुत बातें होने लग गई इन्फ्लेशन की वजह से, ये सब, तो वहां पे स्लो डाउन आया। लेकिन जो डेटा है ना, अभी आप ब्लैक फ्राइडे सेल्स देखो, ऑल टाइम हाई अगेन.
हाँ जी.
आई मीन कंज्यूमर्स आर नॉट बजिंग, ऐसा लग रहा है. रिटेल सेल अभी तक अप्रैल सेल पे स्लो हुई नहीं है यूएस में. We
हाँ
not seen the results go down. It is just expectation. Though stocks are down 25% is a good way for me to add this time. No, I am much more confident because of the valuation now, because people have figured out a recession. सबको यही लगा अगले साल सब खत्म हो ये वो. But people have figured out ways, and maybe the recession might not be that bad. It can be bad. If it happens bad, then we might face more risk, and maybe a part of the portfolio would still underperform, which is textile, and maybe a bit. वैसे तो हमने बहुत exposure कम कर दिया, जैसे यूएस रियल एस्टेट में जो यहाँ पे बिल्डिंग प्रोडक्ट्स कंपनीज थी वो सब हमने रिड्यूस कर दिया है. बट देन टेक्सटाइल्स हमको लग रहा है कि ऐसा कोई वो बहुत बड़ा डिस्क्रिशनरी कंजम्पशन नहीं होता है, राइट? इन द यूएस इट्स अ मोर रेगुलर कंजम्पशन. इंडिया इज गेनिंग मार्केट शेयर. That part of the portfolio is a good part of our portfolio, and mid and small cap maybe we are very hopeful that that part would do very well.
जो बचा हुआ 50% है उसमें अभी भी 50% mid and small cap, 25% trend trilogy, and between China plus one and green
Maybe
energy.
50 20 20 10 ऐसा आप कर सकते हैं. मतलब 20 trend trilogy, 20 green energy and 10.
Perfect, got it. Last question. ये if I have taken all the 4 small cases, do I, and if the capital is 40 lakhs in the range, is it sufficient, or should I look at also subscribe to the research advisory and the equity portfolio advisory?
See, if you subscribe, suppose, to the equity advisory na, then you need not have the small cases. I'd say, why to spend? So, see, your goal should be also to make money by reducing your expenses. Don't go overboard in, because ये बहुत excitement होती है हमको कि यार if we are getting things. So ये हम में भी थी पहले, right? And we used to go overboard in a lot of things. So I would recommend that be very cost conscious and focused also. अगर आप रिसर्च एडवाइजरी लेते हैं ना, तो बहुत सारे इनपुट्स हमारी टीम से आपको वैसे भी मिल जाएंगे. ठीक है, तो आपको अलग से बहुत सारी चीजें फिर करने की जरूरत नहीं है. सारी हैंड होल्डिंग, आपकी कम्युनिकेशन वहां वहां के थ्रू हो जाएगी ना. आपको रिसर्च नोट भी मिलेगा पूरा कंपनी का, तो जिससे आप और बेटर वे में बेट कर पाएंगे, राइट?
और रिसर्च एडवाइजरी कौन सी सर्विस है, उसका ऑब्जेक्टिव अगर
इट्स ऑनलाइन सर्विस जहाँ पे आपको हमारे सारे रिसर्च नोट्स मिलते हैं. आप हमारी वेबसाइट पे जाके लॉग इन करके, हम कोई प्लांट विजिट कर रहे हैं, हम कुछ भी हम जो ड्यू डिलिजेंस कर रहे हैं किसी भी कंपनी पे, या कुछ हमने स्कटलबट किया मान लो बोरोसिल लिमिटेड पे, तो उसका नोट हो गया. वो सारी चीजें प्लस द होल नोट ऑन द बोरोसिल लिमिटेड, एवरीथिंग इज देयर ऑन द रिसर्च एडवाइजरी सर्विस. तो अ स्मार्ट इन्वेस्टर हु कैन हैंडल एलोकेशंस हिमसेल्फ, उसके लिए रिसर्च एडवाइजरी वर्क्स वेल. क्यों पैसा देना ज्यादा, मतलब.
Thank you so much, Arvind. Always a big fan, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amit. Thank you so much.
I think Arvindji, somebody asked on the chat box, what is the cost of research advisory? If you can share that for the benefit of all.
Actually, हमने क्या कर दिया ना कि डिवीजन सब संभालते. गुंजन is completely handling that division. I'm not sure. Last time when I checked, it was again we can take 6 monthly subscription over there also because of SEBI mandate. I guess it's around 25,000 or something. I'm not sure. Yeah, roughly around that. Someone can get in touch with Gunjan from my team. Easily accessible. Yeah.
So Rahul, I have unmuted you. You can ask your question.
Thanks, Arvind. I mean, this was a very powerful and a very nice session. So I just have one question. So I have been investing. I mean, I was investing in mutual funds so far, and typically small caps, sort of. And I have a certain goal which is around 2030, right? And somehow I felt it's not growing or not doing very well to what I wanted, and I kind of removed all my money, which was around 17-18 lakhs, and have just made an investment into the small and mid cap portfolio for yours. I mean, the small case, right?
Wow.
My question was this the right time for that 17
The complete lump sum you put?
I've put complete lump sum, whatever I got, put complete lump sum.
So, yeah. So I would have recommended, as I recommended to other people, that some tranches you should leave for certain, because small and mid caps are prone to a huge illiquidity events, right? And if you could maybe keep maybe 30% or 25% kind of a money aside, which you can bring at those moments of time, that will be better. And if you stay long, right, for longer term, that would be working better for you. Don't try to jump in and out of the portfolio. That is what I will recommend. Then it will definitely work very well for you. But yes, I'm not sure what I mean. You might have cash flows, right? So whether you have earnings and that you can then pull at these illiquidity events and maybe so around whatever portfolio size you have, for example 20 lakhs, 5 lakhs you should have to put it into illiquidity events at any point of time is what I would recommend. That will give you a better you can say mix of the portfolio, because on those moments you can pull the money, put the money, sorry, in the portfolio, and maybe at good valuation it can give you better return.
Perfect. How are the next 4-5 years looking from a small cap perspective? I mean, just a
So
broad.
again, हम लोग, if you look at what was happening pre-COVID, we had 4-5 years of a lot of problems in terms of the broader economy, in terms of maybe GST and all those things, which got compiled and complicated by what happened with Yes Bank, DHFL, and the crisis in the financial sector. So we had a crippling, in fact, you can say segment of the market which was small and mid cap, and they were actually, when we were talking to people were concerned. They were not very sure of the environment, and promoters से खुद से भी बात करके ना इतनी इतनी आपको कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं आती थी खुद भी कि यार कुछ किस डायरेक्शन में चीजें जा रही हैं. Luckily for us, post 2020, the energy that is there with most of these companies, they've in a way in that conservative period conserved cash, repaid that debt or reduced the debt. And now when the growth is coming, maybe because of an alternative that is there in the world in terms of manufacturing, which India is looking at a bright spot, or maybe the domestic, market itself, because the government also has become mature, right? The first 4-5 years when they came, they were not very sure. Maybe they were sure, but then the whole system needs time to, readjust. There was a lot of readjustments last decade. In fact, only few companies, if you think about it, it was a very narrow market, if, in my understanding, where few multi-baggers, were the talk of the town, and that is where the bulk of the money was made. This decade is more about broadening of that, right? A lot of subsectors are evolving, a lot of companies. I mean, there's a company which is not listed right now, abhi, but next year it will go for an IPO. Vari Energies करके है, जो other Vari, it's an EPC business, smaller business, but उस family का जो main business है, manufacturing of solar modules. They could raise around 1,000 crores in the private market just in a matter of a month. I mean, that was phenomenal, and their plants are near यहीं पे चिकली में, मतलब nearby सूरत. तो इंडिया में ऑर्डर बुक जो इनकी देखो, अगर आप इनके पास 30,000 करोड़ की आज ऑर्डर बुक है, जिसमें से 22,000 करोड़ यूएस अकेले से है, जिसमें से 15% पैसा यूएस ने इनको दे दिया है, वहां के लोगों ने, कि तुम हमको टाइम पे दोगे ना. तो वर्किंग कैपिटल फंडिंग भी वो कर रहे हैं. So it is the kind of an alternative that those guys want, because 95% dependence on China for modules, and they want to reduce it. And an alternative, when it emerged, they completely lapped it. And now the way Hitesh Bhai, the promoter, and we met him and we participated in this private round also. Luckily, we got a foot in the door. So the way he's growing, and you look at the Chinese company, when they grew, when they got that opportunity, they've become 3, 4, 5 lakh crores kind of companies. I'm not saying India में अभी तक उतना R&D है, लेकिन हितेश भाई की जो scale है, and now with the order book that he has, he gets money to do backward integration. He's opening up a cell line, right? Then he can go to maybe polysilicon and others. So, I mean, available at 5,000 crores market cap. जो हो रहा है अभी ये, तो these kind of things are happening in our country, where you're getting Borosil renewable, जैसे आप देखो, completely nowhere, and now almost 8,000 crores company, right? तो ऐसी बहुत सारी चीजें इंडिया में होएगी. A lot of brands would come, a lot of businesses would come, emerge, and out of nowhere you think ये opportunity कहाँ से आ गई. तो मैं जितना सोचता हूँ अरे यार ये रैली कितनी चलेगी, उतने ही कई बार you get things which were unheard of, undiscovered, scale which was unheard of earlier, and the promoters and entrepreneurs are and then we mishaps, right? इतना इतना बड़ा scale जब आप करने जाते हो, तो कई जगह चीजें will not go to the way. But the positive thing is, this time risks are less. मैं तो probability खेल रहा हूँ ना, तो probability में political risk कम है, फाइनेंशियल रिस्क तो बहुत ही कम हो गया, क्योंकि इन सबने अपनी बैलेंस शीट सुधारी और एक्सपेंशन के लिए इक्विटी कैपिटल ज्यादा लोग ले रहे हैं. They're not taking a lot of debt. वारी ने डेट उतना नहीं लिया ना, तो मेरे लिए ठीक है ना। इक्विटी डाउनसाइड नॉट 99% जैसे वो पुराने पुंजलॉइड इन सब में हुआ करता था या पुरानी इंफ्रा कंपनीज में हुआ करता था, राइट? सो आई नॉट लूज माई कैपिटल। अगर मैं 10 कंपनियां लूंगा तो प्रोबेबिलिटी माई लूजिंग कैपिटल इज लेस दिस टाइम बिकॉज कंपनीज हैव बिकम मोर मेच्योर। हाँ, वैल्यूएशन बढ़ गया, मेरा सबसे बड़ा रिस्क आज वैल्यूएशन है कि what am I paying as a valuation to what I am buying. So that is where the most risk lies. तो ये डेकेड आपको बस ये करना है कि आपको वैल्यूएशन ज्यादा नहीं देना है, और ब्रॉड बेस रिकवरी तो हो रही है, ये तो विजिबल है इफ यू लुक एट द इकोनॉमी। सो एंड एवरी इकोनॉमी गेट्स इट्स चांस, आर्स इज राइट नाउ। तो अगर ये डेकेड हमने मिस कर दिया ना, देन आई एम नॉट श्योर हम कितनी इन्वेस्टिंग बाद में कितने भी अच्छे से कर ले तो कितना कैचअप कर पाएंगे। एंड दिस अ डेकेड वेयर यू कैन क्रिएट योर वेल्थ। 2 साल चले गए उसमें से, ठीक है? तो 5-7 साल जो भी हमारे पास बाकी है, क्योंकि एक वैल्यूएशन पीक भी आएगा, ऐसा नहीं कि 10th ईयर पे आएगा, वो आज से 4 साल में भी आ जाएगा, 5, वी डोंट नो, नो वन नोज दीज थिंग्स, बट देयर विल बी अ पीक दैट विल कम फॉर श्योर. It is not right now. Maybe in 2026, 27, 28, whenever we get that, we need to build our wealth in that, is what your mindset should be. And at a good time, क्योंकि as जैसे मैंने बोला कि वैल्यूएशन क्रेजी हो रहे हैं कुछ जगह पे, तो ऐसा भी नहीं है वो क्रेजी फालतू वैल्यूएशन पे करके भी we have to get stuck in a lot of things. But if you play these 5-7 years well, I guess a lot of entrepreneurs would surprise you with what scale they are thinking, they're talking, they're growing. And just not about the listed market right now, we are seeing a lot of I mean, there's a consumer brand in men's undergarments which growing at 120% every year. 60% ग्रॉस मार्जिन का धंधा है, ठीक है? इट्स बिकम द सेकेंड लार्जेस्ट आफ्टर जॉकी, ठीक है? इस तरीके की अपॉर्चुनिटीज है। आई एम नॉट सेइंग गो इन्वेस्ट इन स्टार्टअप्स, वो नहीं करना है अपने को, वी डोंट अंडरस्टैंड दैट गेम, बट वी डू अंडरस्टैंड गुड बिजनेसेस, राइट? एनएससी का आईपीओ होगा ना ये डेकेड में, ये नहीं होगा? होगा, वो अवेलेबल है। अनलिस्टेड है तो क्या हुआ? मेरे को तो लॉन्ग टर्म वेल्थ क्रिएशन में मतलब है ना। लिस्टेड में क्या होगा, थोड़े थोड़े आपके फिटीग आने लगेगा, वैल्यूएशन स्ट्रेच होने लगेगा। तो हम लोग ये भी देख रहे हैं कि हाउ एन इन्वेस्टर should take benefit of also these companies, not starters, but it's the largest. I mean, Vari Energy is the largest manufacturer of modules in India, right? 3x of even Adani. So it has proven itself, and it is now scaling up and taking equity capital. तो अगले साल उसका आईपीओ अगर रीजनेबल वैल्यूएशन पे आए, तो उसके लिए हमारे पास पैसा होना चाहिए, ठीक है? सारा पैसा ऐसा मत सोचो कि मेरे को लिस्टेड में यू हैव ऑप्शंस, ऐसा सोचो। हमारा प्रॉब्लम क्या होता है, हमको लगता है हमारा पैसा ये लिस्टेड वर्ल्ड है, इसमें पूरा लगा देना, ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है। यू ट्राई टू थिंक अबाउट ऑप्शंस, यू गेट ऑप्शंस, ठीक है? So think about that when you think about the broad based recovery and just not listed, but ये भी जो होगा, तो आप अपने पैसे को अगर आने वाले 5-7 साल में अच्छे से गुड टाइम देके अगर डिप्लॉय कर दो, आई डोंट थिंक दैट मनी वुड नॉट बी वेस्ट, डेफिनेटली मनी वी आर नॉट इन दैट साइकिल। लोग आपको बहुत डराएंगे स्मॉल मिड कैप तो साइकिल ऐसे ही 2017 में भी कोलैप्स हुई थी, हुआ था ना, हमने पैसा लूज किया था यार, वी लॉस्ट हार्ड अर्न मनी आवरसेल्व्स एंड वी वर पार्ट ऑफ दैट, वी सीन द पेन। दिस टाइम इट इज डेफिनेटली समथिंग, इफ प्रोबेबिलिटी अगर मैं देखूं, तब बहुत ज्यादा हवा थी कि हाँ हो चुके हैं सारा पेन इन द इकोनॉमी, तो अब हम इमर्ज हो जाएंगे। लेकिन वो पेन ने एफ्लिक्ट किया एक और प्लेन विच वाज द फाइनेंशियल प्लेन दैट वी वेंट इनटू, ठीक है? उस समय क्या थीसिस था, हो चुका ना डिमोनेटाइजेशन, हो चुका ना जीएसटी, अब नाउ द ऑर्गेनाइज्ड बिजनेसेस विल गेन मार्केट शेयर एंड विल डू बेटर, वो था थीसिस। लेकिन वी वर अनअवेयर ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस दैट वी वेंट इनटू in terms of the whole illiquidity, in terms of DHFL, and that was a final blow on a lot of the businesses. तो जो मर सकता था ना वो मर गया, और जो सरवाइव कर गए ना, दे वर द बेस्ट क्लास एंटरप्रेन्योर्स, बेस्ट पीपल। एंड लकीली नाउ पोस्ट कोविड वी हैव अ बेटर अपॉर्चुनिटी वर्ल्ड फॉर इंडिया, वी हैव फार मोर बेटर फाइनेंसेस, वी हैव जस्ट वन प्रॉब्लम दैट इज हाई वैल्यूएशन, ठीक है? तो वो वाली चीज को अगर आप ध्यान में रख के अपना पोर्टफोलियो ढंग से बनाते हैं, तो रिस्क कम है हमारी इकोनॉमी में। और ये प्रूवन है ना, देखो व्हेन द होल वर्ल्ड दिस ईयर वाज, कोविड के बाद सारी इकोनॉमी को हनीमून पीरियड मिला ना, लेकिन दिस ईयर वाज टफ। करेंसीज देख लो आप थ्रू आउट द वर्ल्ड, इकोनॉमीज देख लो थ्रू आउट द वर्ल्ड, हु हैज प्रूव्ड द टफेस्ट is Indian corporate, because our period जो आज जिन economies के साथ हो रहा है ना, वो हमारे साथ हो चुका 2017-19 में, ठीक है? तो that test of time we've already gone through. So मेरे ख्याल से that is 5-6 years अभी तो नहीं है वो टेस्ट, अभी कुछ ज्यादा दिख नहीं रहा है जो हमारे कॉर्पोरेट्स को ज्यादा आना चाहिए. There will be ups and downs in businesses, part and parcel of the game, but not large problems.
Thanks, Arvindji.
Thank you.
Rahul, and good that you asked question related to market finally. So, and we have had a good discussion about the small case, and thanks to Gunjan, she has also shared a lot of details about the small case in the chat box. The reason for this webinar is more to understand the investing philosophy and how Niveshaay works and how Arvindji thinks about investing. So I would encourage all the other participants who have raised their hands to ask questions related to investing, related to Borosil or related to sector.
Yes, yes, that will be better. बाकी वाले questions तो anyways आप कभी भी दूसरे forum में भी पूछ सकते हैं regarding.
And somebody just wrote in the chat box, I'm forgetting, I think Mr. Yogi, he wrote in the chat box that SmartSync services and Niveshaay have similar kind of services. So conflict of interest या कुछ ऐसा competition वाला भावना अगर वो होता तो फिर मैं invite ही क्यों करता अरविंद जी को. This platform is not for selling either my services or Arvind ji is asking question because he's been asked question related, answering question because he's been asked question related to small cases.
Yeah.
So the idea of this platform is only to inculcate the equity culture. और इसीलिए हम लोग अलग-अलग guest को बुलाते हैं so that you don't only understand what SmartSync services is doing, you also understand what other people are also doing, and you learn from all the people and then apply what suits you the best. That is the whole purpose of this thing, right? And that is why we keep it free for all, so that everyone can join and everyone can benefit. And we have also done the recording so that the recording is also available, right? So now I'll just request, I've seen a few hands getting
and the best thing, and Ankit ji, the best thing that can happen to an investor, if you can take investing in your own hands, finally you should not need an Arvind Kothari or not need anyone, right?
Right.
मतलब वो जब हो जाएगा ना, see our job is always to we run a business, we have things, but then the larger and more happy the past 2 years that people are actually moving towards taking things in their own hand. तो वो जो एक ट्रेंड है ना, वो स्मार्ट सिंग जो करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, बहुत सारे प्लेटफॉर्म आजकल करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, दैट्स अ लार्जर थिंग दैट यू शुड बी एमिंग टुवर्ड्स टू बिकम एन इंडिपेंडेंट इन्वेस्टर. क्योंकि आप जो रिटर्न खुद कमा सकते हो ना, वो कोई अरविंद कोठारी का पोर्टफोलियो नहीं कमा सकता, वो कोई दूसरा पोर्टफोलियो नहीं कमा सकता, बिकॉज आप कन्विक्शन से अपने पोर्टफोलियो का हायर अमाउंट बोरोसिल रिन्यूअल जैसी कंपनी में या एक मल्टी बैगर में 20% भी डाल के, एंड इट हैज हैपेंड विद मी एक्चुअली. ग्लास कोड जैसी कंपनी एक पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम पे जब वो 6x हो गया हमारे पोर्टफोलियो में, वी ट्रिम 20-30%, बट फैमिली हु न्यू द फैमिली ऑफ एचएलई बोले मेरे को नहीं बेचने का है, अब मेरे को इससे बात कभी भी मेल मत करना कि यू सेल दिस अमाउंट ऑफ एचएलई, एंड ही मेड द लार्जेस्ट मनी इन एचएलई, राइट, बिकॉज ऑफ हिज कन्विक्शन, नॉट मी, राइट. मेरे लिए तो बस उन स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट था उनका कि ठीक है, उनको कन्विक्शन आ गया कि हाँ फैमिली अच्छी थी, बिजनेस भी अच्छा कर रहा है, मेरे से पता चला तो दे बॉट, ठीक है. सो इट इज ऑलवेज यू एंड इट विल रिवॉल्व अराउंड यू. सो ट्राई टू गो दैट जर्नी. मिडवे अगर आपको मेरी जरूरत है, अंकित की जरूरत है, किसकी भी जरूरत है, तो वो बस दैट्स द ओनली थिंग दैट यू शुड लुक आउट फॉर.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I'll now move to Rahil and request you to focus your questions on investing or Borosil or any other thing related to market. Yeah, Rahil, I've unmuted you. You can ask your question.
Yeah, hello. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, sir. Rahil here. I have not studied the business yet, so excuse me if I'm wrong somewhere.
Yeah.
So if looking at a labware segment, there's plasticware versus glassware. Both Abdorbers and Tarsons are doing a huge capex. And if I'm not wrong, they are into plasticware.
Yeah.
So what about oversupply into the whole labware segment? And what are the pros and cons of glassware? That will be my first question.
Yeah, so the point is, and we've in a way raised this question to the management also again and again. But the point when we go to these laboratories, we ask them also. The point is not that labware is eating glassware, right? Whatever products were in, sorry, your plasticware is eating glassware. The products are different. All glassware products cannot be replaced, never be replaced by plasticware, because of the kind of chemicals that they're getting mixed with, or the kind of temperatures that they are going to be there with. So it is so one thing is for sure, that plasticware products are growing at a faster rate than glassware products. But glassware products are also growing, and they are growing at a slower rate, but not getting disrupted. They're not converting into plasticware, is what we've understood about this industry. And that is evident when, so for example, Arupan Rasayan plant, when we are visiting, or whoever is a new R&D facility, when we are visiting, it is all glassware in the main laboratory, where the pressure is there, the chemical mixing is there, or those high performance parameters are there. When these parameters are loose, and that is a market which is also growing very fast, that definitely would be plasticware. For example, vials and ampoules, you cannot replace glass. It is going to be glassware. Ampoules, vials cannot have glass, plasticware. So that is how you should think about it. Yes, the capex for Borosil would be always small in the laboratory glassware, because the market is growing at a slow pace. But the management is utilizing those cash flows to grow the higher growing segments of pharma packaging, which is glass ampoules and instrumentation. You should look at it that way.
So you are saying that plasticware cannot be used in place of glassware.
No,
And what about
95% of the cases it cannot be.
the other way around? Can glassware be used in place of plasticware?
Yeah, they can always be used, but cost becomes and handling becomes a problem. No, why would anyone pay more to a glassware product? Definitely, it can be the other way around, but because of the cost constraint, these products are in plasticware, and they'll remain.
Okay, so my second and last question would be, post demergers, we looking at market caps of both the businesses going lesser or smaller. So aren't we thinking about post demerger selling by institutions?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my question.
So there are not much institutions in Borosil. So this is a problem where people are already have institutions, right? So the stock is held by investors like us, or firms like us, which are boutique firms, which are not selling it at the demerger. Mostly, most people not. Some people would sell the laboratory glassware. What you're saying is definitely very true. So you can wait out to see that. But what I'm trying to tell you is that I am buying my expectation. I'm not saying market will do that. I'm not sure what market would do. My expectation is that the consumer glassware would be lapped up with by a lot of institutions. They'll be wanting to come. In fact, there'll be no selling over there. They'll be buying. The selling might happen in the laboratory glassware or the scientific side of it. And that if it is available at a good valuation, we'll be buying that company also at a price, not eventually initially. But definitely we are buying this because I don't want to pay a premium for the consumer business when it gets demerged.
Okay, that will be all. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Arvindji, there was a question related to this thing only, as in somebody in the chat box wrote that Tarson says that plastic is capturing glass market and Borosil says otherwise. So what to make of that?
Yeah, so again, as as Buffett says, don't ask the barber whether you need the haircut, right? So you should not ask both the companies. You should go and talk to laboratories, right? In that case, and that's when we do. I mean, for certain applications, glassware has no replacements. For other applications, for many years, in fact, plasticware has replaced glassware, right? So, and that is why it has grown faster, right? And that is where I'm not saying that Borosil's glassware would grow faster than plastic, or not. For sure, it is not happening. But there are applications, and there are new applications that are developing also, which will need high pressure, will need high, you can say temperature, will need glassware, and that's where glassware is. So many years ago, Tupperware was a craze, right? Now maybe glassware tiffins are a craze. That means time has proven something, right? So you need to look at age-old tested things. Sometimes always give you certain signals. So there will be applications always of glassware. It's not going to go away, but it will grow slowly for sure, because it will be expensive to handle glass at any point of time, right? And yeah, plasticware definitely is growing fast, because some applications which are commoditized, not commoditized, but low pressure, low you can say points of melting or whatever, there definitely that product is getting used. But that market is also growing. This market is also growing. Both are growing at different rates. Plastic higher, this slower. That is how you should understand the business.
Somebody in the audience, Mr. Pankaj Gupta, he says that I am a lab owner and most of the products are used of glasses rather than, I think, testing tubes he is talking about, only of plastics.
Yeah, perfect. Product wise, you should segregate. Very good.
So I'll now, Arvindji, you can let me know whenever it is time, we can stop. So
oh, people get bored, then we can stop.
So I'll unmute Mohammed Ishfaq. Yes, you may ask your question. Mohammed Ishfaq, I have unmuted you. Okay, so we'll move on to the next person. Karan, I have unmuted you. You may ask your question.
Yeah, thank you, Ankit bhai. Thank you, Arvind bhai, for a wonderful session and for giving us opportunity to learn. And सबसे बड़ी बात है कि सर आप दोनों टाइम देते हैं अपना, और अंकित जी तो खैर जो इनिशिएटिव ले रखे हैं उसका तो कोई, देयर आर नो वर्ड्स टू थैंक हिम बेसिकली. वी गेन अ लॉट ऑफ नॉलेज. Arvind bhai, I just heard I just heard, I'm just adding this thing like manufacturing sector is going to take a bigger share in the GDP percentage in the coming decade.
Correct.
And a lot of reports are available also. So my question is that which one will lose the market share? Which sector will lose the share, and which sector looks promising except the discretionary one?
So, so it's not, see, everything is going to grow, right? It's just that why manufacturing will become a higher portion of our GDP, because it will grow faster than maybe, the primary sector, which is the agriculture side, or maybe the services, right? So in India, we always had, services sector grow very fast, and we had maybe manufacturing grow very slow. And that's where it was never a very substantial portion of our economy. Going ahead, it's expected that that sector would grow faster, and hence it will gain market share, more share in the GDP than your services. Is it clear? You have another question, Karan? I'm not able to hear, maybe.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So Karan, I think you got muted again. So you were saying something.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so Arvind bhai, I got your point, but मेरा ये कहना है कि like sir अभी जैसे कहना है कि food का insecurity भी होगा, तो agriculture would also be contributing, I think so, in that way, or not? Like जैसे जो चल रहा है कि food का insecurity would be there, and the big companies are getting the farmlands and putting so much focus on the food part also, कि जो food का production should be there. So like अगर 15 या 25% GDP का manufacturing हो जाएगा तो something will lose, I think so, in that case.
No, so again, see, आप ये देखें कि एग्रीकल्चर, और आप टिपिकली देखो अगर यूएस कई जगह पे भी आप जाओगे जहाँ पे बहुत बड़े सर्विसेज सेक्टर हो गए हैं, वहां पे ये प्रॉब्लम हुई है जो आपने बोला है कि मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर ही श्रिंक हो गया क्योंकि वो चाइना चला गया या कहीं और चला गया, ठीक है? इंडिया जैसी कंट्री में क्या हो रहा है ना कि हमारे यहाँ हम सर्विसेज भी एक्सपोर्ट करते हैं, और हमारी कंट्री के लोग भी तो सर्विसेज एज अ सेक्टर एब्सोल्युटली श्रिंक होना मुश्किल है ना, क्योंकि आपको नई नई चीजें मिलती रहती है, नए ब्रांड्स क्रिएट होते रहते हैं, मार्केटिंग होती रहती है, बहुत सारी एक्टिविटीज वहां पे होती रहती है। बट होता क्या है कि इंडिया में मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, जैसे हम भी चाइना पे रिलाई करते थे या जर्मनी पे रिलाई करते थे हमारे गियर बॉक्सेस या ये सब बनाने के लिए, अब वी हैव नाउ इन आवर ओन कंट्री दोस बेसिस, राइट? सो इंडिया में मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इज ग्रोइंग वेरी फास्ट.
Right.
सो व्हाट हैपन इज वो एब्सोल्युटली ज्यादा तेजी से ग्रो करेगा तो परसेंटेज फॉर्म में वो ज्यादा दिखेगा. सर्विसेज अब थोड़ा स्लो ग्रो करेगी तो वो एज अ परसेंटेज थोड़ा कम हो जाएगी. और एग्रीकल्चर भी इंडिया में ग्रो होना ही है बिकॉज वी हैव ग्रोइंग पॉपुलेशन. वी आर नॉट लाइक
Right.
अदर कंट्रीज वेयर पॉपुलेशन इज श्रिंकिंग, बट इट कैन नॉट ग्रो फास्ट ना. एग्रीकल्चर में जो हो रहा है बहुत बड़े इन्वेस्टमेंट्स वो कहाँ हो रहे हैं? वेयर हाउसिंग साइड या प्रोसेसिंग ऑफ द एग्रीकल्चर प्रोड्यूस, राइट? दैट कम्स
Right.
इनटू मैन्युफैक्चरिंग.
Okay.
Agriculture तो सिर्फ ग्रोइंग होता है. दैट by see when you're dealing with natural, you can say, with nature can not grow 20% in a year. वो तो
Absolutely.
2-3% या yield आप 4-5% बढ़ा लो उतना ही ग्रो हो पाएगा. हाँ, उससे आप फिर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर में जब उसको लेके आओगे, उसकी प्रोसेसिंग बेटर करोगे या उसको एक्सपोर्ट करोगे या बहुत सारे, तो वो तो सर्विसेज सेक्टर या फिर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर दोनों में से कहीं सेग्रीगेट होगा, राइट? तो वो इवेंचुअली जो है वो दोनों सेक्टर में बढ़ जाता है वैसा. So that is an expectation that absolutely all three sectors would grow in India, absolute terms में. But manufacturing will grow very large, fast, so उसका percentage बड़ा हो जाएगा.
Right. Getting your point. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your inputs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Samir, you can go ahead. I've unmuted you.
Hello. Yes, thank you so much for taking the call. This is my first session with you, and I've been through a lot of journeys with different like mutual funds, AIF, and it's been a thorough disappointment. But with this opening up of it's in for small investors and to do it yourself more category, it's been a great this one. I wanted to ask if the three funds, the three small cases that you have, and the PLI scheme that is being introduced by the government of late, are they in sync in the sense that I think the PLI schemes are just recent introduced by the government, whereas some of your small cases were there before the PLI schemes. Am I correct? Or
Yeah. So again, we are not taking much questions on small case as been clarified. So it's better that we discuss about, again, the investment thesis and everything. But okay, the only thing is that we keep on changing the small case, right? So definitely, अगर PLI में कुछ हो रहा है, तो that's a part of my China small plus one small case, or maybe my mid and small cap for sure. वो हम PLI में जहाँ पे हम बड़े चेंजेस देख रहे हैं उनको, आई वुड हैव लव टू हैव वारी, जैसे मैंने बोला कि जो, बट इट्स अनलिस्टेड थिंग. तो जब भी आईपीओ करेगा तब देखेंगे अगर ठीक वैल्यूएशन पे होगा तो. बट यस, वी आर कॉग्निजेंट ऑफ द फैक्ट ऑफ हाई ग्रोइंग सेक्टर्स इन दैट स्पेस इफ यू वांट टू इंक्लूड. या
but most of my questions actually are not related so much to the, small case. When you speak, you get a lot of opportunity to speak to mutual fund managers and things like that. Do you see them personally more favoring small and mid cap, and versus large cap, or no, not so?
Personally, in the sense, in their fund you're talking about, or how
No,
is it?
fund, they are governed by their mandates. So if you say a large cap person
Yeah, I
will
have a
have
lot
more
of friends
choices.
in the industry who would say, Arvind, yaar, ye stock, what you sent report, I like a lot. I can buy my individual capacity, but the market cap doesn't allow me to buy in the fund. So definitely
Correct.
everyone wants to, maybe for his own capital, the quantum is
From a
different and
sector
the
perspective, like from a market cap perspective, do they feel that, okay, ठीक है मेरे को, I got what hired for a large cap as a large cap manager, but I honestly feel going forward, is that the sense that, the growth will become in the past, small and mid caps were not kind of so much favored, because of the different scams and fly by night operators and blah blah blah. But now with these PLI schemes coming in and all these things coming in, a lot of incentives are being given to small and mid cap and micro cap, or the micro caps can grow to at a larger size. And this, so is there a feeling in the market that yeah, I think maybe if there's going to be outsized returns, it would come from the small and mid cap because the pool is of companies are growing, the opportunities are growing. Whereas for large caps like the Larsen and Toubro and the Infosys of this world, well, okay, fine, TK, if there's a big, contract that comes along or something like that, but it's not going to be every month or every year also that they get new clients and new. Is that something or no? Still,
Yeah, so what you're
large caps
saying
are very
is,
much favored.
no, if you think about, the problem with funds is that, and you think about it that when you're making your own investment also, right? If you have a decade in your hand, then you would behave differently. And if you have 2 years in your hand or a year in your hand, you'll behave differently, right? So the thing is that with small and mid cap, it's very tricky in the or medium term. And the problem with, you can say, see, in a mutual fund, it's even worse that how do you communicate with so many people who might be buying your product? See, in small case also, we try to do that, but it's still limited, right? I'll try to, put out my strategy, whatever. So for a fund manager, taking a bet for 10 years for your money would be very good if he's able to take, but he's not able to take because you don't know the time horizon of the other person. You don't know how he'll behave during drawdowns. You don't know a lot of things. Hence, large cap is going to remain in their minds because these are companies who proven themselves, maybe growing slower, but that is where their alternative is growing. Maybe, debt market, which is growing at 4-5%. So for them, 10% is also good, right? If I can grow my capital 10% is also good. And in India, if they've grown by 12-15%, a lot of SIPs would keep on continuing and will come back to them. So they try to make a mix which is more balanced, and rightly so, because for them the risk management is also very, very important. And these calls, which you can take for a decade, generally funds cannot take. That's why in the previous question answer I told, एक्चुअली ग्लास कोट आप अकेले लेके 10 साल फार बेटर राइड कर सकते हो रादर देन इन्वेस्टिंग विद मी और अ पीएमएस और म्यूचुअल फंड और हुएवर, राइट? सो जो आपका क्वेश्चन है ना, वो फेवर भले कितना ही करे, किसी का मन कितना भी हो एक फंड मैनेजर का कि मेरे को ज्यादा ऐसी बेट्स लेनी है, लॉन्ग टर्म बेट्स लेनी है, ये करनी है, बट देन द अदर कंसिडरेशंस एंड दीज आर वर्ल्डली चैलेंजेस, राइट? हाउ टू डू अवे विद देम? यू कैन नॉट डू अवे विद देम। लार्ज साइज फंड्स का साइज कितना लार्ज हो गया आप आज देखें। सो इंडिया का, अच्छा, जो आईपीओ हुए हैं उसमें से बहुत सारे एक्साइटिंग आईपीओ लोग सोच रहे थे होंगे, बट द सेगमेंट्स आर सच वेयर कैश बर्न वर देयर, तो वहां पे दे हैव सीन व्हाट द प्रॉब्लम हैज हैपेंड, राइट? सो प्रॉब्लम क्या है इंडिया में अभी भी, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ओरिएंटेड बहुत ज्यादा फंड्स नहीं है। नॉट सो स्टार्टअप फंड्स दुनिया भर के हैं, ठीक है? पी फंड्स फॉर दीज काइंड ऑफ बिजनेसेस, टेक बेस्ड बिजनेसेस दुनिया भर के हैं, लेकिन अच्छा मैन्युफैक्चरिंग धंधे के लिए आज कोई ऑर्गेनाइज सेटअप नहीं है आज भी इंडिया में टू हैव अ एआईएफ फुल पी फंड और मे बी पीपल हु कैन गिव देम कैपिटल, ठीक है? वो जब होएगा ना, तब धीरे धीरे ज्यादा क्वालिटी कंपनीज वहां से भी निकल के आएंगी जो आईपीओ करेंगी, और वो जब आईपीओ करके आएंगी, मार्केट्स में आएंगी, तो देयर बी अ पूल ऑफ दीज हाई ग्रोइंग कंपनीज आल्सो अवेलेबल फॉर म्यूचुअल फंड्स टू हैव, जिसका रन भी अच्छा होगा। तो वो टाइम लेगा, बट वो हमारी कंट्री में होएगा, ठीक है? अभी के लिए चैलेंज ये है क्वालिटी कंपनीज का कितना फ्लोट है मार्केट में और कितना ही म्यूचुअल फंड ले सकते हैं, राइट? सो बहुत ज्यादा अगर स्मॉल कैप में एलोकेट कर देते हैं ना, तो वहां से बाहर निकलना भी उतना ही मुश्किल होता है, बिकॉज उसमें से कुछ कंपनियां तो विल फेस बैड साइकिल्स एंड थिंग्स लाइक दैट। सो though personally, and if I'm very good friends, and if personally they are also very bullish on what small and mid caps can do, but to take that exposure in their capability and their fund size, very, very difficult and tricky, very difficult and tricky.
Thanks, Samir, for your questions.
Thank you
We'll
so
have
much.
to move on to next people because there are a lot of people still on the line asking for questions.
Yeah.
So I'll move to Sachin Mittal. Sachin, I have unmuted yours. Well, yeah, you can go ahead and ask your questions.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Arvind, for a wonderful session. And it's always find you very straightforward and honest guy on Twitter. I'm a doctor by profession, but I try to read a lot on the sides. So one question is regarding the exit part. So I find it very hard to, see when to exit a stock. So I'll tell you that I was following this company called New Delhi Television, NDTV, and I picked it up at a market cap of about 180 crores. And it was almost like 35% of my portfolio at that point of time.
Wow, very good.
And as soon as the market cap hit 1100 crores, this was before the Adani thing came in. So before the Adani thing came, obvious maybe I should say, I had exited. So the real money was made. I made about 6x, but probably if I'd stayed, I probably made about 18x or something. So the reason why I bought was I was able to look at the digital business, the cash flow, the visibility over the next 5 to 7 years. Compared to the price I was paying, it was very, very a no-brainer pick for me. Plus, it was completely around. And when it reached a certain amount of valuation, I had a discomfort within me, and I had a itch to sell, take the profit and run away. So that was a challenge. And so how do you time your exit? That is very, very difficult. And second thing is, many of those companies, like say in India, the regulatory structure is not very strong. So let's take an example of this corporate run board of NICA or Indian Energy Exchange. And we have seen that the decisions are not very above board and not very friendly for minority investors. So how you really, get into the nitty-gritty of, forensic auditing and, any red flags and things like that, so that, because a single such trap, like say, let's take an example. If you have a position of say 20% in a stock, but the numbers on paper are all false, right? Then your whole portfolio is down by 10 years.
Correct.
So how do you, get into the nitty-gritty of this thing? So two things, if your time permits, it would be very nice to have your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So since how long you've been investing, Sachin?
So I started dabbling in mutual funds so when I just finished my MBBS, actually, about 12 years back. So then I started owning some stocks. I owned Page Industries, but I exited at as soon as it became double of my money. So I owned Page Industries at 300, exited at around 620, and it always gives me a big heartburn. So and at that point of time, मेरा salary भी कुछ 20-25 ही था. So so I mean, exit is always a problem. So it was always, a lot of times I've lost money out of investing out of rumors. But then I always thought it's better to read. So now I have made it a rule that I read an annual report. I read whatever the thing is available virtually. I obviously has not met any promoter or something. I read everything and then only I put my money. Otherwise, I'm not allowed to buy even a single share for anything. So
wonderful.
So yes, so this is the thought. This is the questions which I have. So these two things always worry me. So 2-3 years back, all of us will remember a fiasco of Vakranji.
Yeah.
On paper, everything looked great. You looked at return on capital employed, you looked on return on equity, everything looked great, and the valuation looked great, right? And everything was in the air actually.
Yeah.
So many things have, and this is correct. This is not like say what happens in USA. Do you know about Mr. Gupta and Mr. Rajaratnam, and insider trading was happening, and they were put behind bars for 40 years. So I'm sure in our country, unfortunately, the regulatory structure is that people still do a lot of insider trading.
Correct.
So so we don't have a umbrella of a SEBI grandfather, which should be as strong as it should be. And how do you retail investors like us go about identifying those red flags, and how do we time our exits?
Perfect. So on the first question, on exits, everyone struggles. In fact, buying is not a problem for us, right? Exiting has two problems. You always are not sure what you'll buy by exiting this, right? So if I have a better opportunity to, buy that, then I exit, or I keep, or what. And second is the heartburn that you get if stock goes up, dramatically well post that. So over the years, the past 4-5 years, we've improved that bit, and it is a continuous improvement process. But what I feel is, there are 2-3 aspects to it, and what I believe that Mr. Vijay Kedia has sorted that out very well for himself, and I learned from him a lot about this. That when he thinks about a company, right, he doesn't think for an exit. If he thinks that a company he can buy and he'll want to exit in 3 years, he will never buy that company itself, right? He will only buy a company if he believes कि 10 साल तक मुझे बेचने का जरूरत ना पड़े, राइट? वैसी ही कंपनी वो लेंगे. उनका माइंडसेट क्लियर है. वो मैं उनके कई बार ऐसे सर 5 साल में तो इतना रिटर्न मिल जाएगा, ये वो. अरे 5 साल में मेरे को एग्जिट करना पड़ेगा क्या? तो फिर तो मैं नहीं लूंगा. वैसा उनका होता है, भले कितना ही रिटर्न बन जाए. because he wants to make long-term decisions and set it and forget it kind of things, right? And he wants to tie up with entrepreneurs who have that hunger and will keep on growing and pivot the company even if problems come. So that is where he's made his 100 baggers and not been in the regretting mode like we all are most of the times, right? But the thing is that for us also, right? So, and Monish Pograi, for example, I've discussed this thing with him a lot of times, right? That he's also now of that mindset. He's buying companies in Turkey where he believes 100 bagger होने तक I'll wait. बोला यार 2 बार 10 बैगर बनाओ तो भी तो 100 बैगर होता है ना. तो मेरे को why are you demeaning me if I have that kind of an approach? But the point is that no one has an answer. For me, what has worked is for us. We try to trim down after the first set of assumptions that we've had, and the companies delivered that a bit of the position, because we always have options. See, for people who don't have options, you should not do that because it's very difficult to find a new company to invest with. So if you found a good company, the promoter is doing exceptionally well, the company is in a good sector, things are happening well, why do sell, right? I mean, why you want to press the button just because you feel the stock has become expensive, right? I'm not taking a particular case over here at Wendy TV or XYZ, but if you feel, and for me, Borosil would be that kind of a company, right? That if I bought it at a good price, the sector has good tailwinds, the promoters are fantastic, and the new the new generation that has come up is even more. The feedback that we get from the team is even better for them, and they've done whatever you can say organization they could do, efficiencies that they could bring in the company. So why should I sell for even a decade? Why cannot lie in my demat account sitting out there, even if 2-3 years of boring period goes by, I'm ready to churn that thing and lose the opportunity of whatever high flyer that would be there at point of time. There I should have at least 30% of my portfolio in that, what I've found peace with off late, that मेरा 30% पैसा at least, I'm not Mr. Vijay Kedia जिसका 100% पैसा ऐसी चीजों में it keeps on lying around. But yes, 30% of money I want to plan over there for sure, right? And then 30 to 40% I want these 5-7 years kind of things where I can maybe have a vision that this is a new plant or not new product or an efficiency which can come to the company or tailwinds that are there in the sector. I'm not ready to take a 10 years call, but I'm more comfortable taking a 5 years call, and I do over there. And then the 20% of the portfolio is always there to find some cement, some cyclical, something which may be a demerger story or some alpha generating that. So I'm not saying this is the best thing to do. This is what I have done and found peace with. इससे ना कभी बहुत ज्यादा fear of missing out होता है, ना बहुत ज्यादा ऐसा लगता है hard burn हो गया है. I keep my mind more at peace when I'm doing this with my portfolio, is what I have come across. Maybe some years down the line, this ratio might change, but this is how I have tried to do it. And again, when you think about NDTV or other examples, right? You should also think sometimes luck also has a very big role to play, right? Right. So there's a famous story of Mr. Buffett in one of his AGMs when he shared that he bought a company which was duck shooting business, and eventually the bullet sometime hit the ground and there was oil running out of the place. Right? And they discovered oil in that company, and that was a completely blind shot. He didn't buy it for that, right? So Adani coming in, I don't know who could have predicted, right? So don't burn a lot of your stress and peace because of something which was a lucky event, right? I mean, ठीक है ना, आपने success बनाया, बड़ी बात है ना, आपने वो call लिया on his business, and maybe if Adani would not have come, maybe the business might not have grown to that stature or that market cap. So find peace with it. But yes, in businesses where you could have seen and observed and felt as you were in the journey, और फिर आपको लगा यार ये 2 साल पैसा नहीं बन रहा है, let me flip it around, and then when it goes up, then you should definitely shoot yourself with the foot and say, why did I do that? So दोनों cases को थोड़ा अलग रखो. There can be instances where luck came your way and you sold some stock and that went up. That is okay. I mean, वो तो होते रहेगा. I mean, I've had so many examples, right? In fact, मैं कई बार jokingly बोलता हूँ that Mr. Saurabh Mukherjee made a portfolio of little chaps. These were all that were identified by us at Niveshaay way back in 2013-14, right? Almost all of them, right? Harbour Ball Ropes and all these companies, at petty market caps, right? Lying there, having dividend yields of 6%, and we were so stupid to sell at 3x, 4x, 5x. And they went multiple X. So we've bettered our 2017 version was better than 2013 version. Maybe 2022 is a bit better. I'll keep on that process. I'll keep on learning, meet more investors like you who've done really well yourself, for example, right? You did so good. I had media stocks and looked at and passed it on, right? यार इनमें पता नहीं क्या हो रहा है. But ठीक है, आपने 6x बनाया, that's great, no? So yeah, take it in terms of that if you can find peace by making 3 or 2 buckets, if that helps.
Arvindji and Sachin, I just have Sachinji, I just have one point to make. So you have already covered this point really well, Arvindji. I just want to make one point over here because this is something which is very close to my, as in close to me also. I also keep on thinking on these issues. Sachinji, if you want to take a long-term view, say something like 5-year or 10-year, if a company is doing well, as Arvindji said, and the promoter is delivering, one thing you should be very clear about is you should be able to live with uncertainty. Sometimes we confuse uncertainty with risk. ऐसा नहीं कि वो कंपनी में रिस्क है, आप बस अनसर्टेन हो कि नेक्स्ट 2 साल कैसा रहेगा, बहुत ज्यादा बड़े कुछ नहीं आएगा, हो सकता है 2 साल थोड़ा बोरिंग हो, राइट? And it is not a crime if you can't do that. If you can't do that, trim your position or sell the stock. Look for something where you are more sure. But if you want to be someone like or closer to someone like Vijay Kedia, you should be, I am 100% sure Arvindji knows Vijay sir much better than me, but ऐसा नहीं है कि विजय सर के पास में सब कंपनी के बारे में सब कुछ पता है कि नेक्स्ट 2 साल में क्या होने वाला है. Correct. So that is one important aspect if you want to hold on to stocks for long term.
Perfect, Ankit.
So I'll move to the next next person on the queue. There is someone with 251, no name. I've just unmuted you. You can ask your question. 2516-690-0510. You may ask your question.
Hello. So the first question I want to ask has been asked already about the labware. So the second question I want to ask is how to invest in the company which are not listed as pointed out by Mr. Sir.
Yeah, so good question, and again that is again a problem कि इंडिया में वो अनलिस्टेड मार्केट अभी तक इतना डेवलप नहीं है, बट पिछले 3 साल में काफी हो. जैसे एनएससी बहुत मिलता है, काफी समय से 4-5 साल से एनएससी आपको मिल रहा है. नेशनल स्टॉक एक्सचेंज, समवन वांट्स टू ओन, it is available with a lot of these brokers. आप बस ये कंपेयर करके you should know that what price to buy whatever. तो अगर आपको कंपाउंडिंग इंडिया में मोनोपोलाइज्ड बिजनेस अगर आप देखो तो एक्सचेंज में मोनोपोलाइज्ड है एनएससी, राइट? सो इट पेज आल्सो डिविडेंड एंड द लिस्टिंग इन अनसर्टेन, बट इवेंचुअली सम डे इट विल हैपन. तो अगर लॉन्ग टर्म टाइम होराइजन है तो ऐसे स्टॉक्स कई जगह पे लकीली मिल जाते हैं. बाकी जगह पे कई बार लोगों ने पेटीएम भी अनलिस्टेड में खरीदा है 3500 रुपए का. ठीक है, मेरे पास यहाँ पे एग्जांपल सीए हमारे, उनको हमने इतना समझाया था, बट फॉर हिज इन्वेस्टर्स एंड हिमसेल्फ वी बॉट पेटीएम एट 3500. So there are pitfalls also, because how do you compare the valuation over there, right? And that is where you should do a due diligence better. यार what to own and what to not own. Just don't go blindly for the unlisted, because बहुत सारी unlisted में ऐसी कंपनियां भी होगी. अब देखो why I am talking about Varik, because उनको आईपीओ करना ही पड़ेगा आने वाले 4-5 साल में कभी भी, या they are talking about a year or two, because their capital need is also very high. No, they're building so much big capabilities and the promoter doesn't want to take that. तो क्या करना पड़ेगा? कैपिटल के लिए कैपिटल मार्केट्स में तो आना पड़ेगा ना. Institution like NSE will get listed, right? तो try to improve your probabilities over here, because unlisted में तो आपके पास मार्केट नहीं है ना सेल करने के लिए. NSE तो लकीली चलो बहुत सारे ब्रोकर्स है, बिक भी जाता है अनलिस्टेड टू अनलिस्टेड, बट बाकी कंपनियां नहीं बिकती है. सो हाँ, वो थोड़ा सा अभी भी ऐसे प्लेटफॉर्म स्टार्टअप्स के लिए, जबकि मैं देख रहा हूँ बहुत अच्छे प्लेटफॉर्म्स आ गए हैं. देयर आर लॉट ऑफ प्लेटफॉर्म्स जहाँ पे आप अनलिस्टेड 2 लाख रुपया भी एक स्टार्टअप में डाल सकते हो. देयर इज कंपनी जो 20,000 रुपया भी. तो ये गैप है मार्केट में. आई डोंट नो क्यों ये गैप है, बट ये है. मतलब somehow still good businesses which can do an IPO in 4-5 years, people don't get a chance to invest with them. I don't know why, but that's a problem to be solved. Let's see अगर हम लोग कुछ उसमें कर पाते हैं तो, but कोई भी कर पाता हो तो it's a good area to work.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I unmuted Sanjay Khayatwal. You may ask your question.
Yeah, my question is regarding we have in our portfolio Rushil Decor. So I think the results are good, but still price is declining continuously.
So you should always,
yeah. it is denting, a portfolio little bit.
Yeah, so that is where you should always, so कई बार क्या होता है रिजल्ट अच्छा आने पे भी स्टॉक गिरता है तो हमको लगता है यार ये क्या हुआ स्टॉक रिजल्ट आया तब तो स्टॉक बढ़ा ही था बट क्या हो रहा है ना इस इंडस्ट्री में एंड दैट इज वेयर वी आल्सो ट्रिम डाउन आवर पोजीशन क्योंकि क्या हो रहा है कि इंपोर्ट्स जो है ना तो द इफ यू लुक एट एमडीएफ इंडस्ट्री ओवरऑल 2015-16 में जो प्रॉब्लम थी ना वो इंपोर्ट्स की थी जिस वजह से इसके मार्जिन इन कंपनियों के बनते नहीं थे फिर क्या हुआ इंपोर्ट्स कम हुए डोमेस्टिक कैपेसिटीज आई तो ग्रीन पैनल ने बहुत अच्छा पैसा कमाया एंड वी ऑल सीन द मल्टी बैगर दैट ग्रीन पैनल हैज हैड बिकम राइट बट अभी क्या हो रहा है ऑफ लेट आप देखो ग्रीन पैनल का भी स्टॉक प्राइस काफी गिरा है क्योंकि वापस से इंपोर्ट्स थोड़े आने की आशंका है मार्केट में देयर इज एक्सपेक्टेशन दैट बिकॉज द फ्रेट रेट्स हैव गॉन डाउन स्टिल इंपोर्ट्स बहुत ज्यादा हुए नहीं है बट बिकॉज द फ्रेट रेट्स हैव गॉन अप इंपोर्ट्स कैन स्टार्ट टू हैपन एंड इफ इंपोर्ट हैपेंस रुशिल का जो नया प्लांट है ना वहां पे अभी तक वो कमोडिटी एमडीएफ ज्यादा बना रहा है वैल्यू एड्स में धीरे धीरे जाएगा वैल्यू एड एमडीएफ इंपोर्ट नहीं हो सकता वो इंडिया में ही बनेगा दैट इज वेयर मान लो क्या एक ब्रांडेड प्लेयर ज्यादा अच्छा करेगा लेकिन रूशील का अभी तक जब फैक्ट्री आप चालू करते हैं तो पहले बेस प्रोडक्शन आता है फिर आप धीरे धीरे वैल्यू एड में जाते हो ना तो वो अनलकीली अगर इंपोर्ट अगर बढ़ गए ना आने वाले 6 महीने में तो रुशिल का वो रैंप अप हुआ नहीं उससे पहले कमोडिटी इंपोर्ट बढ़ गए तो कमोडिटी कमोडिटी फाइट करेगा इसलिए हमको लग रहा है मार्जिन थोड़े से ऑफ जा सकते हैं तो उस रिस्क को वी वांट टू प्ले इट आउट राइट आने वाले 6-8 महीने में अगेन दिस वाज अ बेट मोर ऑन कि ये कैसे अपने पूरे प्लांट को करके और अपनी पीक साइकिल की अर्निंग्स को टच करता है मोर ऑफ अ दैट काइंड ऑफ अ बेट फॉर अस जहाँ पे we didn't wanted to keep it 10 years right it was more of कि ये फेस को वो अच्छे से कर लेता है तो 3-4 साल में हमारा एक अच्छा मल्टीप्लाई बट मिडवे देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम दैट वी कम अक्रॉस तो उसको वी हैव ट्रिम्ड यस देयर इज अ thing that we are watching it very closely कि how the imports pan out if they don't pan out well then we can always increase the allocation नहीं तो
Okay, right. Thank you.
that is a situation that is there
Right.
Thank you, Sanjay. I'll now unmute Mr. Pankaj Gupta. Pankaj, you may go ahead. Yeah, Pankaj.
हाँ आवाज आ रही है
हाँ आ रही है एकदम क्लियर आ रही है बोलिए
अंकित जी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सबसे पहले तो और आपका सुबह सुबह रेगुलरली व्हाट्सएप मिलता है उसके लिए बहुत बहुत थैंक्स बहुत अच्छी मैसेजेस आप भेजते हैं और दूसरा अरविंद सर आपको भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपसे मुलाकात हुई थी गोवा में और बिकॉज ऑफ यू ओनली माय कॉन्फिडेंस विद शिवलिक इंक्रीजेस मेनी 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 फोल्ड
वंडरफुल सर
स्टिल होल्डिंग हालांकि पहले से होल्ड था लेकिन कुछ चीजें और क्लियर हो गई एक छोटी सी क्वेरी थी कि आरएसीएल गेटेक में जो उनका डाउन द लाइन 2025 तक 500 करोड़ रुपया टॉप लाइन करने का है और बाकी थोड़ा सा आप बताइए
सो आरएसीएल ना वी वर वेरी मच कंसर्न्ड कि यार पता नहीं ये यूरोप में जो हो रहा है हाउ इट विल प्ले आउट एंड थिंग्स लाइक दैट बट द कंपनी इज सरप्राइज्ड बाय दिस रिजल्ट्स मतलब completely I mean I was really surprised by this quarterly result because see RACL में क्या है और क्यों ये रिजल्ट फिर हम और ज्यादा सोच रहे हैं तो ये ऐसा हो रहा है बिकॉज जो प्रोडक्ट्स में है ना इट इज मे बी द ओवरऑल मार्केट इज स्लोइंग बट ये लोग जिस प्रोडक्ट सेगमेंट में है वो मान लो बीएमडब्ल्यू के साथ बहुत तेजी से ग्रो कर रहे हैं राइट या अपने प्रोडक्ट्स में वो अब मान लो कुबोटा के साथ बहुत ज्यादा तेजी से ग्रो कर रहे हैं तो अच्छा जेडएफ के साथ इनका नया कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इस साल चालू होगा तो मेरे को लग रहा है द वे Gurcharan, you might see his energy and the way he has been saying. I was doubting, and I think I should not doubt. मतलब we are
बिल्कुल
very
बिल्कुल एक बार को
हम
तो
लोग
हमें भी थोड़ा सा सर यही डर आया था शुरुआत में
हाँ,
एकदम
हाँ,
जैसे ही स्लो डाउन की बातें हुई थी लेकिन बस एकदम से बस एक कॉन्फिडेंस यही आया कि जिस सेगमेंट में वो है वो उसमें कभी भी हिट आता नहीं है मतलब एक एक्सपीरियंस के हिसाब से
correct. So that is what I guess he is on track. मतलब we should
जी
not doubt a lot back and forth. हाँ.
जी जी थैंक यू सर थैंक यू वेरी मच
Thank you so much.
थैंक यू
Ankit ji, you're on mute, I guess.
Jagdish, I have unmuted you. You may ask your question.
Hi, Ankit. Thank you very much for hosting this wonderful session. And Arvind ji, thank you very much for this insightful session. Thank you very much for your time. I have a couple of
Thank you.
questions. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So in the solar supply value chain, there are many, correct? You know, ingots, वगैरह. There are many, the polysilicon ingots, you know. What these guys, you know, the current manufacturers are doing, you know, they buy from maybe the import, I don't know, from
Yeah.
China or buy somewhere, and they assemble just like, you know,
Assemble,
batteries.
correct. Mhm.
Is there any investment opportunity in the value chain? For example, ingots, polysilicon, anybody manufacturing in India, any small and mid-cap companies, you know, any opportunity we can invest over there?
So सेल पीपल आर ट्राइंग एंड वेबसॉल करके एक कंपनी है जिसने ऑलरेडी सेल बनाता भी है एंड देव टाइड अप विद you know अभी they had this maybe a couple of months ago or 3 months ago they had a notification where in a JV there is a large you can say a person who is invested also a large company that is invested also. So that is a opportunity but I'm not sure Websol की corporate governance in the past and what we hear from the market but वारी एज आई टोल्ड यू अभी तक लिस्टेड नहीं है लेकिन वो भी सेल लाइन लेके आ रहे हैं नेक्स्ट ईयर. नो वन हैज गॉन टुवर्ड्स पॉलीसिलिकन बट वारी इज द ओनली गाय हु कैन मे बी और मे बी रिलायंस इज टॉकिंग अबाउट इट तो दे कैन गो बट उसमें अभी तक इन्वेस्ट करने का अपॉर्चुनिटी अभी तक कितना है वी डोंट नो बिकॉज दैट ओनली फ्यूचर विल टेल. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट छोटा मोटा जैसे यू नो बिकॉज पॉलीसिलिकन रिक्वायर्स अ ह्यूज केपेक्स एंड थिंग्स लाइक दैट. There is small investment that is happening in a product called EVA sheet जो आपकी sheet cell को encapsulate करती है, right? So though उसमें you know there is again in a private market not in the public market there are opportunities in the public market maybe no Jindals have also done in a JV. I mean they've not done the listed company. No, so you don't have much in the listed space in terms of manufacturing. EPC contractors हैं या फिर assemblers हैं आपके पास manufacturing में. You don't have people who have backward integrated into you know these high capex capex stories which are there till polysilicon ingot and everything. Only time needs to be seen whether Wari is able to do that and if it gets listed then we get the opportunity to invest in that.
Okay, thank
Reliance
you.
you cannot play because it's a part of a very big listed conglomerate. So even if he does that, how to play that Vaisa?
Okay, thank you, Arvindji. And you referred a lot of times Wari. I'm very much happy because you know I've invested in Wari Renewable, and then long back I've discussed with
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
And
you spoke to me about it, and you had a fantastic, you know. So I'm just hoping कि आपने जितना रिटर्न कमाया मैं ये प्राइवेट जो भी इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहा हूँ हमारी एनर्जी में मेरा थोड़ा उससे मैच करे.
Okay, I'm sitting on EPC business 6 to 7 times. You know, anyway, it's luck, and I did a lot of
No,
business
no,
on
you were the early identifier, sir. You did very well.
Yeah, thank you for that. You know, I've invested on their battery business also. I'm not sure how, you know,
The technology, yeah.
ELSs, and they're coming out with a big plant in Surat. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So there one of the son is handling that business.
Viren Doshi. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Any idea on their battery business, Arvind ji? Do you have any idea on the future expansion? Something like that on the battery business storage, basically on the storage. Yeah.
So they in a way, you know, the vision that they have is definitely in this all new energy space. In fact, they also for electrolyzer in hydrogen they are talking about going forward. So they're a family. So what you told earlier, I was not sure that they will do in these listed entities or they will do in the Vari Energy, which they have their own main company. But they have a plan to grow all the businesses and eventually at some point maybe you know also do some you know combination or whatever. I don't know, but definitely the family is super executor and for particular businesses they still don't share much but what I know from now over the past you know 5-6 months I've met a lot of people who know them and because we made an investment in energies we met the promoters also directly so we've all kept a discussion specifically to energies but as and when we discuss more and if I get something I'll definitely share with you. For now these are plans and they have good plans but then exactly I don't know what they are wanting to do those discussions have not happened as yet.
Okay. Okay. See, recently, Vari Energies, they have taken, they won in the NCLT. The, they bid it at the bid, and they won the company. Which is that Indosolar. Okay, Indosolar actually they bought the company. Maybe to throw away price, they bought it. They have reduced the stake around 99%, around 400 crores to now it is the capital is 40 crores. I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe I think they reverse merge tomorrow with the Indosolar. But what is your view on see, tomorrow they're going to relist. Okay, today it is, I think they've it is not listed in the sense it is not delisted. I'm not sure what they say in the stock market. This one they stopped the listing. It is not listing. They're going to relist maybe in future, maybe the next couple of months. That is what I heard. Any idea on Indosolar? Now they're in the same business, Energies and the Indosolar, and buying Indosolar with a reduction. Once they list, any idea, any suggestion from your side, Arvindji?
I have not looked at that company, so really have no
Maybe
idea what
maybe
they do.
yeah. Maybe please look into it. Maybe something may be happening because both are in the same Indosolar and holding company, both are in the same business. I don't know. They may reverse much. I don't know. Something may happen. Anyway, thank you very much. One small question: Borosil Limited. What is the status on this one demerger? What is the status? Where do they stand?
So I guess they're waiting for the approval, and maybe by March they've given a timeline that it should happen.
Okay. Thank you again, once again, for wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you, Jagdish.
Thank you, Jagdish.
Thanks.
Apurva, I have unmuted yourself. You may ask your question.
Thank you, Ankit. And hi, Arvind. Thanks for your time.
I
really appreciate you sitting for so long and answering questions. Even Ankit tried to demotivate you that there are many questions you want to back out. You did not take any lifeline, and that's good. So I've been.
No, that was not a demotivating thing.
Yeah,
I was just making a disclaimer.
Yeah,
I'm available whole day.
I did not use the correct word.
The whole day. I have no issues.
It was just warning sign for Arvind that there are so many people who not go until he backs out. So
no, when Ankit and I also look at Ishmohit and all these people, when they give so much time to investors, we feel that we are doing so less. So some days at least we can have that luxury of giving.
I have been
back.
associating with Ishmohit also. I am his tribe member. So I absolutely there are times where he starts and I sleep and then I get up. He's still saying and then I ask question. So it's like on Sundays he has started at 12. At 2 I have eaten my lunch and slept and I'm still listening. Okay, and I get up and then I again ask questions until 6 is going on.
Purva, there are many people still waiting. So if
So I'll just tell you, Arvind, I've been following you for. I think the first time I got exposed to you was through Meets, the green thing.
Yeah, we did
the series of 5-6 videos, and I've been following you since. I absolutely love your simplicity and the kind of simplicity you have in mind. I just wanted to ask you about Websol. Have you researched into that? Because see, they are doing a 7x capex. They are letting go of their traditional business. And I understand there might be concerns about corporate governance, but then you will not get everything at a price point, right? So right now, if their market cap is around 400 crores, and with the kind of tailwind this sector has, right? If they just start having and they have done the joint ventures and all of that, they can easily do sales of 2,000, 2,400 kind of sales, right? And their market cap is 398. So, and even in corporate governance, I think they have, there was new CEO or director who has been appointed. She's a young lady, I guess, Radhika or somebody. So have you researched on Websol? One of my first questions. Second question is, again, I think with all of these, this renewable energy in focus, do you see any turnaround possible in the most loved Suzlon?
So,
Yeah,
I've been lucky that I have a friend who runs a company called Navita Solar. So they're into, solar renewable projects also, manufacturing of solar, you can say modules also. So all chain, he introduces me to everyone. I mean, because of him actually, this Borosil renewable happened, or I knew Wari promoters or whatever. We met a lot of people in this business, even on the wind side, because we bought a company called Sangvi Movers, because that was into renting of cranes for wind. And when the projects for wind side, because what happened is that solar took over and wind completely installations collapsed in India, where the renting business of this guy also suffered. But now governments are promoting a lot of hybrid projects, and when that segment of the market got introduced to me by again Vineet, who again is in the industry. So with him, with Vineet, what we've done is in this whole area, because it's so exciting, we built live projects with him for some of our investors together in some solar projects, in some hybrid, and try to understand the whole value chain, how it works, that how we can maybe try to understand the whole vendor scheme, right from the cable manufacturer who joins these modules to whatever transformers that are there, or there are different inverters or what. So the whole chain we've understood, and we've consciously, because of the due diligence on what the industry, feedback what they've got, or some experiences that some vendors might have had from some people, we've ignored till now. But what you're saying, that the JV that this company has done, and the growth story that can come, if we can keep aside a few things and maybe look at it in a fresh perspective, that should be done. What you're saying is for sure that we'll do. But yes, we kept it a few of the companies. In fact, from Surat, I'm not named the company, but another company is listed. They've done very well, stock price performance wise, right? But there are certain things we, as a firm, we've kept it in terms of non-negotiable, right? And hence, till it doesn't tick that box, sometimes we might be lose the opportunity of very good gain, because we have other companies where we can do that, right? So, but there are things that we don't want to do. We don't want to do if those things don't, have some resolution. But yes, let me see it again, if it makes sense what they are doing, and whether things are improving on that front.
Yeah.
Thanks, Apurva.
And any idea on like any your view on Suzlon?
See the market, and my team, I go with the same questions with their team, that they tell me it's crazy idea, right? उनका capital इतना ज़्यादा है, debt इतना ज़्यादा है, क्या होएगा नहीं होएगा. But I keep on pushing them. Let me see if because I don't take a decision. We as a team take a decision. But the wind market is very, very good for sure. What you're saying, that wind market has turned around now, and we are playing it through Sangvi. That has a better balance sheet, a better other levers also. Suzlon, the problem always is that even if there's a turnaround, the equity dilution that has happened is so huge, that in bringing earnings per share to be a reasonable figure, there'll be a very big challenge. Even if they turn it around, right? So that's the problem with these kind of companies. Even if they turn around, they're still available at a very high market cap, no? Because the dilution and the number of shares that are there is very high. It will take a miracle, of course, for this to be a very, very big company, but that can
I
happen.
think
I'm not sure
I
that
think
the
that
chances
Suzlon
are
is
there.
better trading term than investing, because in investing you need certain checklists, right? And that is happening there. So
Yeah, I mean,
thanks.
there is an outside chance, but there is a chance that it can do very well, because
But I would
globally
surely
also.
request you to look at Websol once again,
Yeah,
because Websol is a 1 quarter game. Because in 1 quarter it will be very clear with a 600 megawatt kind of coming live, and Desh Act also.
and the JV is fantastic. What you're saying, I've understood the JV. The JV partners are fantastic, and if they're betting, they should be betting on something reasonable that they might have, seen. So for sure, signals are there. One needs to look at it more closely.
Sure. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Apurva. Thanks for your
Thank you.
questions.
Thank you, Ankit. Bye bye.
Devang, you can ask your question.
Yeah, hello. First of all, thank you, Smart Singh and Niveshaay, for this session. It has been very informative. So I had two questions here for Arvind. First is, you spoke about PMS and small cases both. So I would like to know, like, what is the what would be the difference? I mean, what would be the point of decision?
Devang, you can come to the second question. We have had enough
we are
discussion on
listening.
that. Other people are also waiting for their turn, so you can come to the second question.
Yeah.
Sure. And the second one is, Arvindji, like in all the three things what you are giving, IT as a sector, I don't see much of a weight. Any reason? What is the future you see in IT, especially in mid cap, small cap space?
Yeah, so I mean, it's not about the future. It's first sometimes about your lack of understanding that you don't have much allocation. But we luckily have one allocation there where they are so again the EV thing where there's a company which is has BMW and all likes most of the big clients who are transitioning, helping them transition towards their EV journey. They're working on the EV middleware and they're doing well in a weak market where IT has not done well, the company is doing well, growing sales very well. So yes, we have one allocation, but yes, we always are on the lookout if there is a company. We want more, as I told our mind works more, where there are few players. The problem is sometimes in these services how I differentiate one service provider from the other, and there are hundreds of service providers in the same space, and I'm not able to discern. And if I'm able to do that, I'm not averse of software business. But yes, I have to stay long term. I'm saying for me, it's a handicap. And it should not be for any other investor. For me, it's a handicap that I want number of suppliers to be less, which I can identify with and relate to them and maybe compare them at any point of time. And that's something we get challenged in software business. But yes, we have a couple of businesses where it's not, and one of them is a part of the portfolio already.
Thank you for clarification.
Nagu, I've unmuted you. You may ask your question.
Hi, sir. Thanks for very informative session. And I know so many guys have asked so many questions. I learned a lot. Actually, I'm investing your green energy theme in small case. I mean, I was quite some time in this market, but from the COVID onwards, I'm making profit. And actually, I made good profit in mutual fund small case like SBI small cap. My question is, my capital is more than 1 CR now, with all the profits, including the profit. My question is, how much of allocation to the small case and this kind of themes, and how much of allocation now is this the right time that I go with the advisory service or something, sir? Can you throw some light on
We should
people like
ignore these questions because a lot of other questions. These are all discussed again, and we can get in touch otherwise also.
You can, Nagu, you can get in touch with the team of Arvindji. I think a lot of details have been shared on the chat box also.
Phone number to me, so I can talk.
Yeah, we will drop it in the chat box.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think there is only one person left now, Mr. Pritish Kothari. Yes, Mr. Pritish, you may go ahead. You may go ahead, Pritish. Maybe he's. So with this, Arvindji finally 3.5 hours. Yeah, I think Pritish has come. Yeah.
Pritish.
Yeah. Thank you, Arvind bhai. So my question. So Arvind bhai, you mentioned all in details, right? But can you just guide us on what would be the red flag in that? So it's not about 2-3 quarters, but if that keeps on going on that, especially red flag area, then how would we identify that?
Red flag on what? Red flag on what?
Borosil Limited, you mentioned. So where we should keep an eye on. Okay, there might be some risk factor, but especially any red flag where you suggest that okay, this if this goes on that line, then we should be very careful.
See, in companies like Borosil, the only problem in the long term can be the valuation that you're paying, because they don't have debt much on the balance sheet. Their business is not, dependent on any government scheme or government doing this or that, or globally things happening this or that. So these might grow slowly. So the only risk that I wait a long in that portfolio for the valuation catch up to happen, because I might be paying a premium in respect to other businesses, and maybe if that capex. So the risk on the business side, which can happen, of course, is the capex get further delayed, or because they depend on a lot of outsourcing model for the manufacturing. If there is some event that maybe the faulty product reduces their you can say image of the company, or the QC is not proper, then it might have repercussions in terms of the brand image. That can be something which can be a risk that you need to watch out for. Other thing is that in terms of the new capex that they've done, if some competitor again is wanting to do high capex in this segment and do undercutting, for example, in the opalware side, those kind of large you can say things, if someone is doing, then you should have your eye on. Otherwise than that, I'm not sure. There is a lot of other red flag that you should be worried with.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Priteshi. And
thank you.
finally, Arvindji, with this, we have come to the end of the session. I'm just looking at the watch right now. So the recording says we have recorded for 3 hours and 32 minutes.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
And I never felt bored. Some of the questions were really, really interesting. And it is good that you were pretty open to answer all these questions. And hoping for having more sessions like this in the future as well. Thank you so much. Any closing remark you want to end with?
No, thank you so much for inviting me. And I love these formats where, you guys are doing a wonderful job to educate the audience. As I said in the past, also, the closing remark would be take investing in your own hands. That is the best way you can multiply your wealth. And I'm very hopeful about, you guys doing that, and India being the country of our, dreams in the coming, decade is what we all hope. And we should all have a good future. Thank you so much for listening patiently, and I thoroughly enjoyed the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Arvindji, and thank you so much all of you who have been there for last 3.5 hours, listening patiently and asking some really good questions. Have a nice Sunday. Bye.
Have a nice Sunday, everyone.